Columbia brings you Romance. Tonight, one of the most moving of all love stories of our times, Seventh Heaven. And here is Frank Gallup to set the stage for tonight's tale of romance.
Good evening. This is Frank Gallup, your host for the evening, to guide you through the pages of the great dramatic love stories of all time. Tonight I bring you Lamont Johnson as that very remarkable fellow Chico, and Joy Geffen as the lovely dreamer Deanne in Seventh Heaven, adapted by Jean Holloway from Austin Strong's stage play of Love in the Garrets of Paris. It has been said that heaven is the place where the heart finds true happiness. There are no guideposts to help you find heaven on earth. You just suddenly come around a corner, or up a flight of stairs, or down a cellar, and there it is, heaven. For Chico and Deanne, heaven was 7 stories up, hence the title, Seventh Heaven. Chico was a sewer worker who wanted to be a street cleaner. And Deanne was a very young and very lovely girl who was being victimized by her elder sister, Nana, who was trying to bully her into a life she didn't want to lead. But one day, Nana was whipping Deanne in the street as Chico and a friend passed by.
Take that! And that! I'll learn you to disobey me, you young whelp. Please, Nana, please. Disobey me, will you little brat?
Well, will you look at that? She's killing the little one, Chico.
There, you hellcat, you.
Oh, put me down. Put me down, you monster. Put me down before I hit you. Eyes out.
I'll put you down. I'll put you right down under that manhole cover. You can do your screaming in the sewer for a while, my fine lady.
Don't you dare, you filthy swine.
Ah.
Don't you dare.
She'll cool off down there.
Will she be able to find a way out?
She'll meet someone that'll help her. There's plenty of men working up a ways. Well, now, let's see to the small one here.
Yes. Open the door of my taxi cab. She's unconscious. We can put her on the seat.
Oh, gently now. Gently. She's bleeding. That whip went deep in her arm.
Yes, you saved her life, Chico.
I don't know why.
She
She has a nice smile, eh, Boo?
Yes.
Who are you?
I'm Chico. And this is my friend, Boo.
Hello, Chico. Hello, Boo.
How do you do?
I was dreaming about you. I was dreaming I was in heaven. And I kept hearing the name Chico and the name Boo. And I kept wondering, why should they be in heaven with me? These two that I don't even know.
She's out of her head.
Oh, no. She just heard us talking while she was unconscious.
What do you do, Chico? What's your profession?
Me? Why, I'm a sewer man, an atheist, and a very remarkable fellow. Why are you smiling at me like that?
No reason, except I've been looking a long time for a very remarkable fellow.
Don't look at me. I'm not for any woman. I have no time for women.
Oh, that's very disappointing.
Oh, look, down the street. There comes Maximilian Goban, the street washer.
Let's ask him to join us for supper, huh?
No. We'll just get snubbed for our pains. The street washers are above the social strata of the sewers.
Oh, but try, Chico. Isn't he splendid looking?
I will try. Good evening, citizen street washer. Will you do us the honor of dining with us?
Dine with you? The likes of you? No.
Old snob.
You're right, Boo.
Everything holds present the higher social position than the sewer.
Social position? How do you like that? I tell you that's why I'm an atheist. Why should that stupid fellow have the hose while I'm kept down among the drain pipes? Me, who I know to be a very remarkable fellow.
Why are you an atheist, Chico?
Well, just looking at you is enough to make me one. Were you put here just to live in the gutter, to be beaten and strangled?
I don't know. I never thought about that.
Well, I know there is a God. I've proved it 100 ways.
Name one.
Well, there must be a bon Dieu. Otherwise, where do all the good things come from? The wine, the cheese, the onion, the blue skies and the yellow fields, and my taxi, and my wife.
Wait a minute. Do you think the bon Dieu made me?
Of course.
And you?
Naturally.
And that street washer, Maximilian Gobin?
Well, everybody makes mistakes sometimes. You know, the trouble with you is you're ignorant. You know nothing of the beauty and the consolation of religion.
Fool, I've been through that. I was religious once. I prayed so long and so loud, the bon Dieu must have heard me. I gave him a fair test 3 times. First, I prayed for the hose, to be a street washer. I went to the finest church in Paris, the Cathedral of Notre Dame, and I bought the largest candle in the place for 5 francs.
5 francs?
That's a lot of money.
But I didn't get it. So I said, perhaps the bon Dieu, if there is any, meant for me to be a sewer man. You see, I am a philosopher. I can take a certain amount of disappointment. Then I wanted something else. So again, I lit a candle. 5 francs more.
What was that for?
A wife with yellow hair.
A wife.
Nothing happened. So then I said, Monsieur le Bon Dieu, I'm going to give you one more chance. So for this last time, I prayed for an experience.
An experience?
You probably won't understand, but I wanted the experience of feeling like a fine gentleman. I wanted to be able to climb into a taxicab and say, fellow, make the grand tour. Drive me first to the Champs-Élysées, and then to the Maison Rouge, and then to the Arc de Triomphe. And then home to 48 Rue Notre-Dame de Lorette, and perdition take the expense.
15 francs you laid out?
Yes, the bon Dieu owes me 15 francs, and that's why I'm an atheist.
See the padre coming down the street there? Don't let him hear you say that.
Well, hello, Chico. Hello, Boo. You have a friend, I see. What's your name, young woman?
Diane.
Diane. That's a pretty name. Is there anything I can do for you tonight, Chico?
Nothing, Father. You know I'm an atheist.
I don't expect you to be one forever.
You know why he feels that way, Father? He prayed for 3 things and didn't get them.
Really? What were they?
Well, he wanted to ride in a taxi cab with a yellow-haired wife and money enough to pay for it. The money to be earned from the hose. He wants to be a street washer.
Do you, Chico? Why, then I can help you. They're looking for a man. Here, you take this card to the commissioner, and the hose is yours. Now, I'm going to ask you to keep these 2 medals of St. John and St. Agnes I'm going to give you. The bon Dieu has a sense of humor, Chico, and the joke is on you. Good night to you, and good luck.
Did you hear? Did you hear? I'm a street washer. I've risen in the world. And look at these medals. They're real silver. Boo. Look. The price mark. It says 15 francs.
Well, I must say good night. I congratulate you, monsieur. Good night.
But wait a minute. Where are you going?
That's my affair.
What is that you're trying to hide? A knife, huh? Give it to me.
It's my knife. It's not your concern.
Give me that.
If you take it away from me, I'll jump in the river.
Go ahead. Drown yourself if it pleases you. Women like you make me sick. Where's your fight? Hold on, Deanne. There'll be something good for you. I, who am a newly risen man, tell you.
Take your hands off me. Let me go. I want to go to the river.
All right, I'm not keeping you. There's the boulevard to the river. It's broad enough. The devil take you. Wait, Deanne, why do you want to die?
What have I to live for?
Is there nothing you want?
Yes. But what I want is beyond me. You wanted to be a street washer. That's easy. What I want is heaven.
You want to be a street washer, too?
No. I want a room and a stove and some curtains. And I want someone to cook for and take care of. Someone who will smile at me and warm my heart. Someone strong and handsome and kind. A very remarkable fellow.
I think you will find him. Deanne, you've got to be brave. You've got to fight life and lick it. Now then, will you swear to me that you will not try to kill yourself?
I swear it. Oh, look, it's the police, and they have Nana.
Here's that girl, Diane. You will come with us.
Zark, you can't arrest her.
Oh, it's you, Chico. Why not?
Because she is my wife.
Well, why didn't you say so at once? Come on. We've lost enough time. Let's get moving.
She's not his wife, you fools. She's not his wife. She's my sister. I'd know, wouldn't I?
Oh, is that so? Where do you live now, Diane?
48 Rue Notre-Dame de Lorette.
Well, tomorrow we'll come to your house to see if you speak the truth. Come along now.
Oh, you won't get away with this. I'll get even. You won't get away with this.
Well, let's get moving.
Now, why did I say that? It was a silly thing to say.
Don't worry. I'll go away.
Oh, but you can't. They'll look up the books and find no records. And then they'll come to my address and find I have no wife. Oh, I'm ruined. I'll lose the hose. Why couldn't I keep my mouth shut?
Maybe you could let me stay with you until the police come.
Huh?
To prove to them that you had a wife. And then I'd go away and never trouble you again.
But how can we explain about our marriage not being on the records?
Well, we can say we were married in Italy or Belgium.
Diane, that's it. That's it exactly. You have a great head. A very great head.
You have a very great heart.
And I also have a great idea. Bull! Bull!
Don't shout. I'm right here.
Wind up that stuttering taxicab of yours. Wind up that sewing machine, that ill-tempered piece of tin. Wind it up.
Why?
Why? Well, look what I have on my arm. A yellow-haired bride. And in my pocket is the card that says I am now a street washer. And now I wish to take a grand wedding tour. First, the Champs-Élysées.
So this is the Champs-Élysées. I've always wanted to drive down it. Look at the stars, Chico. How nice they look from a taxicab riding down the Champs-Élysées.
There are some other people in the taxi. Bow, Diane, bow. They are of our social strata. They, too, ride in taxis.
Oh, Chico, isn't it exciting? Isn't it fun?
Oh, bow, Diane, bow. This is our night. Anyone who doesn't bow back is very rude. Here we are, the Maison Rouge. Let me help you down, my lady.
Oh, no, monsieur. Permit me, please.
Thank you.
Monsieur et madame. If we go around the back, we can hear the music quite plainly. There's a little park that goes down to the river. It's just a step or two.
Oh, Chico, isn't it beautiful? Look at the river. Isn't it beautiful?
Yes, you are. May I have this dance, madame, my wife?
Indeed you may, monsieur, my husband.
Stop here, Bull. Here by the Arc de Triomphe. There you are, Madame Chico. The Arc de Triomphe. I give it to you for a wedding present.
Oh, Chico.
Oh, wait a minute. Here, what are you crying about?
I don't know.
What kind of a girl are you to go around crying and not know what you're crying about?
I guess I'm crying because it isn't true. I guess I'm crying because I'd like so much for it to be true.
Don't cry. You're so much prettier when you laugh. And when you laugh, I want to laugh. When you cry, it makes me feel like crying, too. Smile for me, Diane. Please? That's better. Diane.
Oh, Chico, that was a lovely kiss. It was a nicer present than even the Arc de Triomphe.
Hey, you two. Where now?
It's way past midnight.
The driver would like to know where to now. Why, home, driver. You know where that is, don't you?
You might refresh me, madame.
48 Rue Notre-Dame de Lorette.
48 Rue Notre-Dame de Lorette, the finest street in Paris.
Oh, that street is not in Paris, my friend. That street is in heaven. Good night, Bull. Thank you for a lovely evening.
Thank you, Bull. I'll settle with you on payday.
The debt is already paid. Forget it. Good night.
Good night. Night, and thank you. Good night.
Good night.
And now, it's 7 flights up. You too tired to climb it, do you think?
Too tired? Oh, no. I shall run all the way up.
There it is.
Oh, Chico, it is heaven. I've never seen anything so beautiful.
I'll light the lamps.
Oh, no, please. Look at the way the moonlight lights the room. Oh, Chico, look how close you are to the stars. How happy you must be here.
Funny, I never thought much about being happy here. It's always been a place to come to at night and leave in the morning.
I can't believe I'm here. I must be dreaming. Oh, Chico, how can I ever thank you?
Do you know something, Deanne?
Yes?
This evening I've changed. Who've always been a remarkable fellow, have become even more remarkable. Because I've discovered something. I've come to believe something.
And what's that?
That there is a God, and that this room is heaven.
Oh, Chico.
Well, I think I'll say good night. I'll sleep out on the roof tonight. You may have the bed.
Oh, I can't take your bed. Let me sleep on the roof or on the floor.
Not a chance. What way would that be to treat an angel?
An angel. That's a funny name for me.
Not so funny as you think. Good night, Deanne.
Good night, Chico. Chico, would you mind? I mean, would it be asking too much to... Could we play the game just long enough to include a goodnight kiss?
Good night, Deanne.
Good night, Chico. All right, I'm coming. Are you the police?
It's Bull.
Oh, good morning, Bull.
Good morning, Madame Chico. Good morning, good morning. How beautiful you are this morning.
Thank you, and so are you.
Oh, really? Thank you. Where's Chico?
He's not here. He was gone when I woke up. I'm cooking him some onion soup.
Not here, huh? Well, that's funny. He told me to meet him here at 10 o'clock sharp. What do you suppose he wants?
I don't know.
Ah. Have you heard from your sister, Nana?
Nana? No, she's in jail, isn't she?
Oh, no. She got out this morning. I met her on the street. She said if you didn't come back, she'd come and get you.
Come and get me. Oh, Bull, what shall I do? I've had such a wonderful 3 days here. I hate to leave and go back. Yet I guess I must. I can't stay here forever. It's taking advantage of Chico's goodness.
Oh, I don't know about that.
He's only here for meals. Past 2 nights he slept at Monsieur Charlot's. I can't turn him out of his home forever. I guess I must go back to Nana.
Well, I'll tell you what. Suppose you and I go and burn a candle to St. Antoine. Maybe he will tell us what to do, huh?
There comes Chico.
It's about time, too.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you this morning, my pigeon and my friend?
Chico, put me down.
I've been waiting half an hour for you. What did you want me for this time?
I wanted you for a very important event. Deanne, take this box and put on what you find in it.
What is it?
Isn't that just like a woman? Questions, always questions. It's a dress, my stupid little cabbage. A new dress.
A dress?
Yes, a wedding dress.
A wedding dress?
That's what I said. A wedding dress. Oh, you don't know what a time I've had. Those fools at the Marriage Bureau refused to believe that I'd ever been born, just because I wasn't on their records. Isn't that stupid? I said, well, of course I was born. How else did I get here?
Those fools at the Bureau.
So, after I'd spent hours arguing with them, they finally gave me the paper that said I was born, and now we're to be married at 11.
Married? Oh, Chico, I can't marry you.
You can't marry me? What do you mean you can't marry me? You've cooked me onion soup and mended my clothes, even kissed me. If that isn't leading a man on, I don't know what it is.
Please, you've been so good to me already. I can't let you do anything more.
I've been good, huh? You mean that?
So good.
Then you be good to me, and don't refuse me. Deanne, if you leave me and I lose you, I lose everything. Even being a street washer will mean nothing. Funny, that was my idea of heaven once. But Now I know that heaven is coming home to you. Oh, Deanne, please put on the dress. I want to marry you fast before anyone can take you away from me. I love you so much. So very much. You and I add up to heaven, the way I see it. Chico, Deanne, heaven.
Say it again.
Chico, Deanne, heaven.
Say it again.
Chico. Hey, that's enough. And look here, young woman, you're not marrying a poor man. I want you to know that. Look here. 1 month's pay in advance. We'll have a picnic tonight and a wedding that no one on the street will ever forget. I've invited all the street washers and the whole sewer. How about it, Madame Chico?
Madame Chico. Oh, it's a lovely name. It's a lovely name.
Will you go and put on that dress? Get along there. Go over to Madame Gobert's and put it on.
Immediately, Monsieur Chico, immediately.
Are you the man they call Chico?
Yes, come in. This is my friend, Boole.
How do you do?
Very pleased, I'm sure.
I'm Deanne's Aunt Valentine. The police called me when Nana was arrested. She told me I'd find Deanne here, so I've come to get her.
To get her? But that's impossible. We're going to be married this morning.
Oh, no. Oh, perhaps you don't understand. She comes of a good family. Nana ran away with her several years ago, and we've been hunting for both girls ever since. The first clue we had was when this arrest came up. Oh, dear Anne, can't marry a street cleaner.
It's an honorable profession. I'm proud of it. And so is Deanne. She loves me.
If you love her, you'll send her with me. You've no right to keep her from a fine home where she'll have everything a girl could want. What can you offer her? This ugly hole?
You know, Chico, she has a point.
All right. All right, take her.
He loves her very much,
But
you know.
you must know I'm right.
Well, logic is on your side, but love is on his. We'll see.
Chico! Aunt Valentine, what are you doing here?
Why, my dear, how pretty you look. And what a nice dress.
Where's Chico?
He's gone, my dear. You're going home with me.
Oh, no, I can't. I'm going to marry Chico. Chico!
I'm here, Deanne.
Chico, please come back,
Oh,
Chico.
my dear girl, use your head. I'm offering you your old life, clothes and money and a good home.
But Aunt Valentine, Chico has offered me heaven.
What is it? What do you want, Deanne?
Oh, don't ever go away from me again like that. Don't ever let anyone do that to us. You and I belong together. I love you, Chico. With you, I can be poor and still have the whole world. And without you, I can be very rich and still have nothing.
Well, then, I guess that settles that, huh?
Yes, I guess it does. Goodbye, then. And I hope you'll both be very happy.
Deanne.
Oh, Boole, I've been so worried. What's happened? Where's Chico? You've been gone for hours.
Deanne, we're at war. We're at war with Germany. The mailman was downstairs with orders for both of us when we got down.
Orders? War?
I got through before Chico, so he sent me back to tell you. He'll only have a few minutes, Deanne.
I can't believe it. Only a few hours ago, it was our world, Chico's and mine. And now it's been torn away from us. It isn't fair. It isn't fair.
No, Deanne, it isn't. Oh, that must be Chico. I'll go on over to Madame Charlot's across the roof. He'll want to see you alone.
Thank you for telling me.
Goodbye, Deanne.
Goodbye, Boole, and good luck.
Deanne?
I know, Chico. I know. Boole told me.
I don't want to leave you. But I haven't any choice. You know that, don't you?
I know that.
Perhaps it'd be best if you went to your aunt.
No. I want to stay here. I want to wait for you here. All the happiness I've ever known has been in this room. I want to stay here.
It's sort of hard to put into words, Deanne. But I want you to know that it's going to be a little easier because I have a reason for going. You. And all the dreams I've known because of you. Deanne, I'm not a very warlike man, and I'm not very keen on killing or being killed. But if that's what I have to do to keep you safe, that's what I'll do. I've learned a lot since I met you, Deanne.
So have I. You'll come back to me, Chico?
I'll come back to you, Deanne.
I wish there'd been time to be married. I wish I was really Madame Chico.
You are. In your heart and in mine. Look, here are the medals the priest gave me. We can marry ourselves with these. Give me your hand, Deanne. Now, say, I, Deanne, take thee, Chico.
I, Deanne, take thee, Chico, for my wedded husband, for now and forever, as long as we both shall live.
I, Chico, take thee, Deanne, for my wedded wife, for now and forever, as long as we both shall live. Well, Madame Chico, I guess that does it. And now, goodbye, my darling.
Oh, Chico!
Deanne, please don't cry. I don't want to remember you crying. You're so much prettier when you smile. Smile for me, Deanne. That's better.
I won't say goodbye. Just, I'll be waiting.
All right, darling.
Sometimes I guess you have to wait for heaven. You have to wait and pray and have faith. I know that such a very remarkable fellow will come back even more remarkable. And then we'll have our seventh heaven once again.
You have no doubt of that, do you?
Not a bit. Because heaven is a place that's ruled by God. And we'll be protected by him.
Then I'll be back.
Oh, Chico, soon? I pray it will be soon.
And so the Chicos and the Deannes wait for heaven now, with faith in their hearts, and fight for it with courage and determination. And every day brings it a little closer. Seventh heaven, as always, just around the corner. This is Frank Gallup, your host for the evening, ringing down the curtain on tonight's performance of Romance, a program produced each week by Columbia to bring you the great romantic plays and love stories of all time. Our story tonight was adapted for radio by Gene Holloway from the play Seventh Heaven by Austin Strong. Seventh Heaven was produced and directed by Mark Slobe, with music conducted by Ben Ludlow. The players included Joey Geffen as Deanne, Lamont Johnson as Chico, and Ralph Bell as Boole. Beginning next week, Romance will come to you at a new hour, 11:30 p.m. Eastern Wartime, when I'll be back with another great love story. And so, until next Tuesday at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Wartime, this is Frank Gallup saying good night and wishing you love, happiness, and romance.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System. Columbia brings you Romance. Tonight, A Lady in Love, the story of a small-town girl who is forced to choose between two kinds of love. And here is Frank Gallup to set the stage for tonight's tale of romance.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Romance. Once again, we're ready to guide you through the pages of a most unusual love story. Tonight we bring you Marion Shockley as Linda Brown, the lady who is loved by two men. Blaine Cordner as Clem Richards, one of the handsomest men in her life, and Bill Quinn as the happy-go-lucky Johnny Day. A Lady in Love was adapted by Jean Holloway from the McCall's Magazine story by Eleanor Teig. Romance is where you find it. And if you find it in a small town, as Linda Brown did, you must expect it to be scrutinized and talked about, for such is the way of small towns. As Linda Brown discovered when she came to the town of Brookfield, she came there to direct the recreational center and to take care of any other little item the local citizenry might desire to classify as recreation. She was lonely and friendless. So when she met Clem Richards, well, things began to happen. Things that she herself didn't altogether understand.
Hey, look at that water down there. Doesn't that look wonderful? If I wasn't so starved, I'd dive in right now. What do you say we eat?
Silly, we just got here. You aren't supposed to eat your picnic lunch at 10:30.
Yeah, but I'm hungry. Couldn't I have just one small piece of chicken, Linda?
Not a scrap till lunchtime.
Well, lunch is hours away. Well, there won't be anything left of me by then. What kind of a girl are you to bring on a picnic anyhow?
You tell me.
All right, I will. You're the right kind. The only kind. Linda, I'm afraid I'm falling terribly in love with you. Do you mind?
Please, Clem, I wish you hadn't said that. I hardly know you. I hardly know myself in these new surroundings. Everything's so new and so strange.
Well, you'll get used to it, Linda. In no time at all. You love Brookfield, and you love me.
You seem awfully sure of yourself.
No, I'm not really. But I can tell you this. Give me half a chance, and I'll sweep you off your feet. I'll take you to dances, parties, picnics, movies, dinners, more parties, more dances. You dance like something out of my dreams. You know this song, Linda? You beneath the moon and under the sun. Da 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 dee dee da. In the silence of my lonely room, I think of you night and day. That's my song for you, Linda.
Clem, don't hold me so close. People are looking at us.
Well, I don't care, do you?
Yes, a little. I don't think it's any of people's business how we feel. I don't think we should make a display of our emotions.
Oh, darling, you're so old-fashioned. What do people matter? I can't possibly hold you in my arms and pretend that I'm not in love with you. If that's what you want, we'd better stop dancing. Want to stop, Linda?
I don't know. So confused. All I know is that I don't want to be lonely again. I don't want to be all by myself as I was when I first came to Brookfield. If that's the alternative, I never want to stop dancing with you, Clem. I don't want to stop ever.
Well, Linda, if you're not a sight for sore eyes, sitting there on your front porch in a white dress on a Sunday morning.
I've been to church. I'll bet that's more than you can say.
It is indeed. You know why I came over this morning?
Is it because you've been coming over here every Sunday morning for the past 2 months?
Precisely. I'm a creature of habit, and you're getting to be a habit with me, Linda.
Bad or good?
I'll never tell you. Want you to worry about it. Oh, Linda, I love you so much. So doggone much, I can't stand to be away from you even for a minute. Once more, Linda, will you marry me?
Marry you, Clem? I wish you hadn't asked me that again. You've been so faithful, a wonderful friend. So wonderful, in fact, that I can't just keep putting you off. Have to give you an answer.
Yes, Linda?
You've been so sweet, Clem. Yes, I'll marry you.
Oh, Linda.
Please, Clem. Just a minute until Mrs. Patterson's gone by.
Clem Richards, you're wanted down at the newspaper office right away.
Well, thank you, Miss Patterson. I'll go right down. I'm sorry I have to go, Linda. I'll be back as soon as I can.
All right.
So long.
Won't you come up and sit down, Mrs. Patterson?
I think not, Linda. Good day.
Mrs. Patterson, just a moment. You and I used to be fairly good friends. But you've changed. Why? Have I done anything to offend you?
I'm afraid I could never be very friendly with any woman who chose to run around with a married man, Miss Brown.
A married man? What are you talking about?
You must know Clem Richards is married. It's common knowledge in town. Why, he has a child, a little boy.
Clem? Married? Why, he never told me. Oh, it can't be true.
Ask anyone in town. Ask anyone in town.
Well, Clem?
Well, what can I say, Linda? It's true. I am married.
Why didn't you tell me?
I don't know. At first, it wasn't important. Then, when it was important, I meant to tell you, but I kept putting it off one more day. I kept thinking, well, we'll have just one more day, and then I'll tell her. We were having such fun, Linda.
Fun? How could you possibly have been having fun, living a lie, making me live a lie, too?
Well, maybe fun isn't the right word. Maybe what I meant to say is we were living such beautiful, untouched days that I wanted to keep the world shut out just a little longer.
I feel so cheap, so humiliated. Running around with a married man, I've never done things like that. I despise you for tricking me into it.
I love you, Linda.
You couldn't love me and do this to me.
Linda, you're old enough to know that we don't always do the wise thing, the right thing. Sometimes if we want a thing badly enough, we'll do anything to get it. Lie, steal, cheat, Linda. In my case, I did none of those things because morally I'm free, though technically I'm not. You see, Linda, my wife and I are separated. We have been for years. We have a son, Dickie. He's at school at Salisbury. I go to see him once a week. It was because of him that Doris and I decided not to get a divorce until one or the other wanted to marry again.
Have you asked her for a divorce?
I wrote her last week. Oh, please see this through with me, darling. In all my life, I've never felt about anyone the way I feel about you. I'll try very hard to make you happy. I think I could, Linda. Well?
I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Well, it's up to you, Linda. If you want it that way, I'll walk out of this room and out of your life. And I'll never try in any way to see you again. You're so quiet. What are you thinking, Linda?
I was thinking how lonely I'd be without you.
Oh, my darling. My darling.
Can't be wrong. Not when everything's over between you and your wife anyhow. Oh, Clem, I don't suppose right now I'm a good judge of what is right or wrong. I only know that without you, there's nothing.
It's not going to be easy for you, Linda. People are talking now. They'll talk more.
I'll try not to care about people. I won't let myself think about it. Maybe they'll get tired of talking about us and leave us alone.
I tell you, I saw Clem Richards and Linda Brown over in Baltimore last week, walking around bold as brass, holding hands. I think she ought to be set straight on a few things. After all, she's teaching in a nursery school, isn't she?
Now, John, the town council will be voting on Miss Brown's contract in a few weeks, and I want you to see that it isn't renewed. No girl can run around with a married man the way she's been doing and get away with it. It's time she found that out.
Well, I, for one, think that all of us should cut her dead when we meet her on the street. She isn't fit for decent people to associate with. The sooner we get her out of town, the better off we'll be.
Hello, Linda. Where are you going?
Oh, hello, Clem. I was just on my way into the antique shop.
Well, stop and talk to me for a minute, will you?
Well, what's new?
Clem, did you know the mayor told me that 4 of the trustees have refused to sign my contract for next year? They're trying to take my job away from me.
Oh, please, Linda, don't take it all so seriously. The contract will go through, all right. Where else will they get anyone to work as hard as you've worked?
I'm afraid they've reached the point where they aren't interested in how hard I've worked.
Well, I'm fed up with this town. You and I worked darn hard for it, and what do we get? A nice big kick in the teeth.
You look tired, Clem.
Are you tired?
A little.
You know what's wrong with us? We're not having any fun.
We'll have fun again.
I wonder. You want to call it quits, Linda?
Whatever made you say a thing like that? Is it beginning to get you two?
No, it's not that. Well, we've had such a punk time of it lately. Now, darling, give me a hand. Let's not let the town get us down. We'll work our lives out in spite of them.
Hi, Clem.
Hello, Johnny.
Who was that just went inside the antique shop?
Johnny Day. He's Mrs. Patterson's son, the offspring of a very romantic first marriage. He's the apple of her eye.
Does he live in Brookfield?
Sure. Been in the Air Force. Just got sent home with a game leg. That's why you haven't seen him around. Well, I have a story to track down for the newspapers. Want to come along?
Not tonight, Clem. Think I'll browse around the antique shop a little and then turn in early.
Okay. Good night, sweet.
Good night, Clem.
I beg your pardon?
Yes?
That pickle jar you're holding, are you interested in it?
I might ask you the same question about the one you're holding.
Well, then I should have to answer yes. And no, because I'm not yet prepared to commit myself.
Oh.
You must be new around here. You go very well with the scenery, I might say. You haven't any stockings on. Aren't you afraid of catching cold?
I have on liquid stockings because of the war. If it weren't for the war, I can assure you I'd have on the regulation variety. And I don't see that it's any of your business.
I beg your pardon. My interest was prompted primarily by the pickle jar. Then you turned around and I was sort of carried away. Do you believe in love at first sight?
I've heard that it happens.
What would you say if I said I'd just fallen in love with you?
I'd say good night.
Then I won't say it. I'll keep it a secret for the time being. Are you going to buy that pickle jar, or may I?
I certainly am.
Well, all right. Buy it if you want it. But have you stopped to consider that probably in 100 years this pair has never been separated? They're mates. Doesn't even that make you pause?
No. Should it?
Well, you certainly have a few things to learn about romance. Have you a heart?
I used to have.
Where's it now?
I didn't watch it carefully enough. It got away from me.
You know, I think I'll do a little hunting around for that heart. It's the kind of treasure hunt that's mighty appealing. All right, Missy, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll each take a pickle jar and promise to see that they get together now and then. Say, every other evening and over the weekend?
Oh, I'm afraid I couldn't do that.
Well, why not? Are you married or something?
No. I guess I'd better tell you who I am. The name is Linda Brown.
Oh, mine's Johnny Day. I'm glad to know you, Linda. I wish you'd reconsider that little proposition of mine.
Look, Johnny Day, maybe you haven't been back long enough to know that I'm considered the town's bad girl. Your mother would never approve of you seeing me.
I'm a little past the age when one says, Mother, may I see Linda Brown tonight?
I seem to remember an old saying about mother knows best.
My mother has always particularly admired my taste in girls, as a matter of fact. And, well, she should. They've always been the nicest girls in town. I have an eye and a heart for them, Linda Brown. And right now, my eyes and my heart belong to you. And even Clem Richards isn't going to change it. You'll get over Clem Richards. He's a phase that all the girls in Brookfield have gone through. You've just been having yourself a set of growing pains.
Well, for someone who didn't know anything about me, you suddenly seem to know a lot.
I intend to know more. Come on, Linda Brown. Break down and be happy.
What's there to be happy about?
Being alive, finding 2 pickle jars like these, meeting you, having a date with you tomorrow night. My pickle jar and I do have a date with your pickle jar and you tomorrow night. Don't we, Linda Brown?
You'll find us at the Elm Tree Gardens, Mr. Day, duly polished and waiting at 7 o'clock. Hello? Oh, Clem, how have you been lately? Country club dance tonight? Oh, I'm sorry, but I've already promised Johnny. Well, he can't dance much with his leg the way it is, but he can dance some. Sorry I can't make it, Clem.
Why so thoughtful, Miss B?
It's the music, I guess. I used to be very fond of this piece.
Aren't you still?
Evidently not. I don't seem to have any reaction at all.
Hello, Johnny.
Oh, hi, Clem.
Isn't this our dance, Linda?
I'm afraid this is Johnny's, Clem.
Sorry. My mistake.
You'll excuse us?
Oh, of course. Don't mind.
You know, I don't think he likes me. I hope he doesn't. I'd consider that a very good sign.
Of what, Johnny?
Of tides and human events and the progress of civilization. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I thought you would. You know, you're beginning to be a very smart girl, Linda Brown. And I approve of that.
Hello? Oh, Clem. No, I'm sorry I couldn't make it tonight. Johnny and I are going to take a ride in a pony cart. Maybe tomorrow night, Clem. All right, you phone. Well, you certainly don't have to be so huffy about it. I'm not going to break a date just because you call up at the last minute.
Don't look now, Linda Brown, but there's a star in your hair.
You have two in your eyes.
That's from looking at you.
Do you think the pony's getting tired? I sort of feel as though we ought to get out and pull him for a while.
Linda, I wish you'd tell me something. Is it still Clem Richards or no one with you? Or would you rather I didn't ask that question right now?
You haven't given me much time to see Clem the last few weeks. Between you and my work, I've been pretty busy. You know, I've even forgotten to worry about whether my contract was going to be renewed or not.
There are a lot of things I want to say to you, Linda. It's hard not to say them because they're so important. And yet, I don't want to say them too soon and lose everything.
You're so sweet, Johnny.
That's all you ever say to me. And that isn't what I'm waiting to hear.
What is it you want me to say?
I'll never tell you that. I hope someday you'll know it and say it. But if you don't, I'll never tell you.
Well, this is quite a treat. An evening with you. Nice of Johnny to spare you. Or was he tied up or something?
Oh, Clem, let's not quarrel. Every time I see you, you start an argument.
All right, I'm jealous. You don't deny that you've been spending a lot of time with Johnny Day.
Well, it was one way of keeping the town from talking about us.
Is that why you've been seeing so much of him? Is it?
No, that's not the reason. I enjoy being with him.
You're playing with fire, you know. You'll never reconcile old Lady Patterson to renewing your contract by going after her one and only son. You'll never get your contract signed that way. That's suicide.
I don't see why Johnny Day and I can't be friends. He's not married, is he?
Well, what does that have to do with it?
I thought that was the point.
Oh, let's not argue, Linda. I came here to tell you that my wife has gone to Reno to get a divorce. In a few weeks, I'll be free, too.
I see.
Well, you don't seem exactly overjoyed.
Clem, I don't know what to say. When I first came to Brookfield, I was lonesome, and you were very gracious to me. But I don't think I ever really thought I was in love with you.
Is it Johnny Day?
Yes, Clem. I'm in love with Johnny. Johnny and I can start out together building something new and clean and out in the open where everyone can know about it. There doesn't have to be anything secret or second-hand about it.
And you think that what I'm offering you is second-hand, eh?
For me, it's second-hand, Clem. There's nothing that's new to you, particularly love. You say all the right things a little too well, if you know what I mean. Maybe for someone else, that's all right. But I have to be able to respect and like the man I marry, as well as love him.
So now you think you'll marry Johnny Day. Well, Linda, I think you've got another thing coming. Has Johnny Day asked you to marry him?
No. And maybe he won't. But that doesn't change anything.
Well, I'll bet my bottom dollar that he won't. His old lady's too smart and too proud to have her pride and joy marry any one of your reputation.
I probably deserve that for allowing you to make my reputation for me, Clem. Now, will you please go?
Okay, Linda. When you get lonesome, let me know. I might still be around.
Hey, Miss Brown.
Johnny! What are you doing out here in front of the center at 10 o'clock at night?
I've been waiting to walk you home. All right?
Why, it looks like rain. Sky's overcast.
You walk like you're tired. What kept you?
Oh, I had some thinking to do.
Mm-hmm. Would you like to play a game as we walk along?
Let's not play any games, Johnny. Someone always gets hurt.
Not you this time, Linda. I'll see to that. You'll like the kind of games I play.
I like that kiss, Johnny. You've never kissed me before.
I just never dared. But I'm very brave tonight.
Johnny,
Hmm?
you said once that someday there might be something I'd want to tell you. Well, now there is. I don't know why it should be so hard to say, but it is.
Do you love me, Linda? Is that it?
Yes, Johnny, that's it.
Oh, darling, I've waited so long.
Good heavens, what a storm. We'd better get along.
Here, take my arm. Do you know, Linda Brown, I guess there's half a dozen pictures I have of you that you don't even know about.
The rain feels wonderful on your face, doesn't it? I've always wanted to walk in it like this. What are the pictures, Johnny?
Well, in one of them, you're standing in the doorway in something pink, waving me off to work. And one is you in something deep and blue sitting beside me looking into a fire. And one, oh, I blush to say, is you with a smudge on your nose scolding 5 little girls of assorted sizes that look a little like me and a lot like you. I have 1 or 2 others, but I'll keep them to myself for the time being. Well, what do you think of my pictures?
Well, I blush to say I'd love to pose for them.
Well, here's the inn. You're home, darling.
Will you come in?
No, I'd better get home and get dry. I'll phone you tomorrow, Linda. I'll meet you about 2:15 on the park bench under General Pershing.
I'll be there, Johnny. Twice. Once at 2:15 and once in my dream. Good night.
Good night.
Any messages for me?
None at all, Miss Brown.
Oh.
Oh, I almost forgot. There's someone waiting to see you in the morning room.
Oh?
It's the mayor.
Oh. Good evening, Mr. Warren.
Hello, Linda. I came in to talk to you about the job. I think it's going to be all right for the renewal. Your running around with Johnny Day seemed to fix everything up. You know, folks like Johnny, and they figure a girl can make a mistake, especially if she's young and pretty.
I made a bad one. You know, my father once told me a very wise thing. He said it was not only important to be a lady, you had to look like one as well.
You look a little tired, Linda. Maybe you should take a week or 2 off and get some rest. That would give you and Johnny a chance to be, to do a little stepping.
Mr. Warren, I haven't seen Johnny in 3 weeks. He just walked out of my life, said he'd phone the next day, but he never did. Guess I scared him away.
How could you do that?
I told him I loved him.
Well, it's always kind of hard to tell how that'll affect a man. But I thought Johnny was pretty set on you.
He hasn't phoned, and he hasn't written. So I guess that's that.
Excuse me, Miss Brown. Mrs. Patterson's on the telephone. You can take it in here.
Mrs. Patterson? Yes?
Is this Linda Brown?
Yes, Mrs. Patterson.
I was wondering if you wouldn't join us for dinner tonight, my dear.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you, but I'm afraid I couldn't make it.
We'll make it a late dinner if that'll be more convenient.
I'm afraid it's quite impossible, Mrs. Patterson.
I'm asking you as a special favor, Linda.
All right. You win. I'll be there for dinner.
That's John on the table. He tells me you have the mate.
Yes, I have.
You know, I sent him out to find a pair for me. When he came home, he said he'd met such a beautiful girl he couldn't resist giving her one.
Oh?
Look here, Linda. My son seems to think I've been persecuting you. He calls it gunning for you. But that isn't so. Why, if you were one of my own daughters, I'd feel the same way about it. You're a leader of young people in this town, and as such, you have a responsibility. There are certain things no girl can get away with, no matter how smart she is, or how hard she works, or how loyal her heart is. Romancing with Clem Richards, you are bucking a convention that's older than either of us. I'm glad you stopped bucking it, for your own sake and for my son's sake.
You're glad for What do you mean?
I'm glad for his sake because Johnny loves you.
You must be mistaken. Johnny hasn't been near me for weeks.
He's been very ill. He went out in the rain and got soaking wet and almost got pneumonia from it.
Pneumonia? But why didn't someone tell me? Is he all right now?
He's standing right behind you. Why don't you ask him yourself?
Johnny. Oh, Johnny.
Hello, darling. The pickle jar and I have been very lonely for you.
So is my pickle jar and me. We didn't know you were ill.
I didn't want anyone to know. I wanted to see what would happen.
Are you satisfied?
Linda, you know the old Merkel place on Cobb Lane beyond Willow Farm? It can be picked up with a mortgage.
Oh, Johnny, you're such an idiot. Can't you see I adore you? If this is a proposal...
The Merkel place is yours in exchange for 5 little girls.
That's an awful lot of girls, Johnny.
Well, it's what this town needs. As many little girls as possible, just like you. Didn't we come to that conclusion last night, Mother? Hey, Mother.
She's gone. Your mother's a diplomat, Johnny.
You know, it's time those pickle jars got together on one mantel. Things that are perfectly mated should never be separated. Well, Linda, how about my 5 little girls? Do I get them?
Well, darling, I'll tell you. You get the marriage license, and then just keep your fingers crossed.
This is Frank Gallup, your host for the evening, bringing down the curtain on tonight's performance of Romance, a program produced each week by Columbia to bring you the great romantic plays and love stories of all time. Romance is produced and directed by Mark Loeb. Music is conducted by Ben Ludlow. The cast tonight included Marion Shockley as Linda Brown, Bill Quinn as Johnny Day, Lane Cordner as Clem Richards, and Reza Royce as Mrs. Patterson. Next week, at this same hour and over many of these stations, we shall bring you another romance. Our play will be My Man Godfrey. Till then, till curtain time next week, this is your host, Frank Gallup, saying good night and wishing you love, happiness, and romance.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Columbia brings you Romance. Tonight, the hilarious comedy Petticoat Fever. And here is Frank Gallup to set the stage for tonight's tale of romance.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Romance. Once again, we're going to guide you through the pages of a great love story. Tonight, we bring you Peggy Conklin as Ethel, Santos Ortega as Dascom, and Harold Young as Sir James in Petticoat Fever, adapted by Jean Holloway from the play by Mark Reed. It takes 2 parties to make a romance, and in the case of Petticoat Fever, The party of the first part was named Ethel Campion, and the party of the second part was named Dascom Dinsmore. Now, you may find it hard to believe, but they met on the coast of Labrador. The party of the second part, Dascom, operated a wireless station up in those cold, lonely regions. And he hadn't seen a woman for 5 months, a white woman for 7 months, and a beautiful woman for 2 years. So when Ethel Campion walked out of a plane accident into his house, followed by a rather unpleasant party of the third part, well, Dascom got a little excited.
I'm Sir James Fenton of Montreal, and this is my fiancée, Miss Ethel Campion. I didn't catch your name, old fellow.
My name is... I've got a name, but it's such a long time since I've mentioned it. My name is Dascom Dinsmore. At your service.
Well, this is a great pleasure, Mr. Dinsmore. It's very kind of you to take us in.
I assure you the pleasure's all mine. May I take your cap?
Thank you.
Thank you. May I take your coat? And may I help you off with your overshoes?
You may not.
Oh, don't be so selfish. Was this your first crash, Miss Campion?
Yes, it was.
I hope you found it pleasant.
Are you crazy?
Well, yes, a little about you. Do you believe in love at first sight, Miss Campion?
Now, look here. You're being entirely too familiar. Miss Campion and I are engaged.
That's easily remedied. I don't think you two would ever be happy together anyway.
That's none of your concern.
Oh, yes, it is. I love the lady, too.
But you only met her 5 minutes ago.
Didn't you know you loved her after the first 5 minutes?
Certainly not.
There. You hear that, Miss Campion? Wouldn't you prefer a man who knew immediately you were the only woman in the world for him?
Well, that would be a little more flattering if there were another woman in your world, Mr. Dinsmore.
Now, look here. When is the next boat due away from this place?
In about 6 months.
6 months?
Where's the nearest railroad?
About 1,000 miles away.
Well, where on earth are we?
Eskimo Point, Labrador.
But this is ridiculous. I have a very important meeting in Montreal.
All right, I'll fix you up with a dog sled. You might make it in 3 or 4 years. There's a mission 90 miles to the north and an Eskimo village 150 miles to the south. Those are my nearest neighbors. So you might just as well make up your minds to settle down and enjoy life.
Well, I imagine we'll get on all right, Dinsmore. I'm a man's man.
And I am not a man's man. Miss Campion, don't you consider engagement a rather frail institution?
I can't say that I do, Mr. Dinsmore. Is there a rector in the neighborhood?
Not within 100 miles.
Really?
And I am not a justice of the peace, I'm happy to say. Miss Campion, do you mind if I tell you you're very beautiful?
Well,
she most certainly does.
You're certainly stuffy, old man. How can you possibly marry such a stuffy man, Miss Campion? He's going to make a cage out of your marriage.
I'm not going to do any such thing. And I don't propose to be continually insulted like this. And you'll kindly show me to whatever lodgings I'm to occupy. I'll compose a message for you to wireless for me.
Gladly. Would you sit down by the fire, Miss Campion?
She will not. She will come with me.
You see what I mean about the cage, Miss Campion? I'll show you both to your rooms. They'll be at opposite ends of the house, of course. This has always been a respectable wireless station. And engaged couples must be well separated according to the traditions of Labrador.
Look here, Dinsmore. I resent your infernal attitude.
See here, Fenton. I resent yours.
And I'm beginning to resent you both. I feel like a stew bone.
Hello, Dinsmore. Did you send my wireless?
Well, I'm having a little trouble with the set right now, but everything will be taken care of in good time.
I say, why the formal attire? Those tails make my outfit look a little silly.
Yes, I thought they might.
There hasn't been any answer from that first message you sent to Montreal 4 days ago?
None.
I can't imagine why. Jove, I'm hungry.
The table looks rather nice, doesn't it? Those candles look right to you?
Who cares whether they're right or not? Why don't we eat? What are we waiting for?
Miss Campion, of course.
She's late.
Yes, I know. Isn't it wonderful to be kept waiting by a woman again? Mind if I put on the phonograph just to get the proper atmosphere?
I don't care for phonographs.
I don't care if you do. That was the big song the summer I graduated. There was a girl in the senior class who had brown eyes and a smile with a trick in it. I never met her, but I thought she was the most beautiful girl I'd seen in my life. I bet you could never guess what her name was.
What the deuce do I care what the silly girl's name was?
Don't you want me to tell you?
I certainly don't. Your collegiate idiocies don't interest me in the least.
Hello. I'm so sorry to have kept you waiting.
I can't think when I've enjoyed waiting for anyone more.
Ethel, my dear, it does seem to me that you might make an effort to be on time.
I'm terribly sorry. I allowed an hour to dress, but, well, I broke a strap, and of course I have to sew it. You know, I haven't heard that song since I went to college.
You were the prettiest girl at State.
What?
I used to figure out ways to meet you in my spare time, but they never came to that.
You mean you went to Iowa State, too?
I was in your class.
You were? Did you know Hugh Gillis?
Sure, and Jim Clancy.
And Bill Craddock and Eileen Brown and Bob Gittler?
Every one of them. Soulmates.
Soulmates.
Rubbish.
Iowa State, Iowa State, rah, rah, rah. Iowa State, Iowa State, sis, boom,
bah.
No, Jenna. Aren't you being a bit corny? Can't we turn off that silly machine and have something to eat?
Do you remember when Hugh stayed up all night blowing up balloons to advertise a school play?
Wasn't that a riot? It left him so weak he caught the mumps.
Yes.
I don't know what is more tiresome than old college graduates getting together.
Oh, James, darling, isn't it exciting? Mr. Dinsmore and I went to college together.
I'm not exactly deaf, my dear.
Oh, really? Too bad.
Dinsmore, will you have the goodness to serve us some dinner?
Say please.
Please!
Miss Campion, you sit here at my right.
All right.
Sir James, you sit at the foot of the table.
What, way down there?
Really, Sir James, you're being most difficult. Now, before we sit down, shall we have a toast to Our Lady?
She's not Our Lady.
All right. To my lady.
But she's my lady.
You're certainly behaving very medieval about her. You know, Miss Campion, he isn't up to the standards of Iowa State.
Twiddle twaddle.
Now, see here, James, I'm not going to have you referring to my college like that.
That's right. Don't let him talk about Iowa State like that. It's time you learned, Sir James, that some things are sacred.
Yes, it certainly is.
Twiddle twaddle. Well, are we going to stand here all night, or are we going to sit down and have dinner?
Well, let's sit down and drink a toast to the three of us.
To the three of us.
Beast the shame there isn't one less of us.
I'll certainly drink to that. Oh, I'm sorry. Someone's calling me on the wireless. Will you excuse me, please?
Gladly.
Of course.
I don't mind telling you, my dear, that I've had just about as much as I can stand of all this. At any moment, I'm going to run amok.
No, James, dear, you aren't being very reasonable. After all, Mr. Dinsmore's being very nice to us.
He's being nice to you. I think he's trying to poison me.
Oh, James.
He intends to do away with me in some underhanded manner. I see it in his face every time I look at him, and I don't like it. How do I know he sent that message to Montreal that I gave him?
Well, you have his word, don't you?
You think that means so much?
Well, of course I do. He's a graduate of Iowa State.
Twiddle twaddle.
James, I'm a little tired of that word.
I'm a little tired of good old State. Ethel, let me show you what I have here.
James, where'd you get that gun?
I stole it from his room this afternoon. I feel much more comfortable with it in my pocket. I have decided that we have to get away from here, Ethel. I don't trust this fellow.
Oh, James, you're being positively ridiculous.
Is that any way to speak to your betrothed husband, Ethel?
Oh, twiddle twaddle.
I wonder what he's up to in there. Wish I understood how to run a wireless.
Well, it's really none of our business. Why don't we turn the radio on while we're waiting?
I don't believe he sent that message at all.
Oh, James, stop acting like an old bear.
I've been talking to his Eskimo boy, and I think for a proper sum of money, he can be persuaded to take us anywhere we want to go.
This is station CHOC. You have just enjoyed a selection by the Mount Royal Orchestra. Meanwhile, in the banquet room, the first winter get-together of the Montreal Board of Trade is taking place, and we are going to temporarily conclude our orchestra program that you may listen in. The next voice you hear will be that of Horatio G. Bottomley, Toastmaster for the evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. It's with mingled emotions that I accept the honor of being your Toastmaster this evening.
Oh,
But take the chair under these circumstances tugs at the very heartstrings. However, it is not as though we had received no news from Sir James Fenton.
There, you see, he did
Our
send
loyal
it.
brother may be imprisoned behind the icy bars of the grim Arctic Circle, but in spirit he is here with us tonight.
In spirit, I certainly am with you tonight.
To bring him closer to us, I am going to read you his message. This message was picked up in Halifax about 5 p.m., November the 11th. It was the first word received by a world breathlessly awaiting the fate of our intrepid friend.
Well, the deuce is his rescue party. That's what I want to know.
Landed northern Labrador. Well, happy, cordially received. No boat until spring. Will stay on for winter sports.
Winter sports? What does he mean, winter sports?
Winter sports? Turn off that radio. This is the grossest insubordination I've ever encountered. Someone's going to hear about this.
Well, that message has certainly made a hero out of you, James. You have something to live up to now.
I am not a hero. I am a member of the Montreal Board of Trade. Perhaps now you'll admit he has trapped us here.
I guess he has. You know, I think it's kind of cute of him. The fraternity boys were always doing things like that.
Well, perhaps I lack the old school spirit, but I do not think it is one bit cute. Ethel, we'll have to escape tonight.
Good gracious, how can we?
I'll go out and make arrangements with his Eskimo boy right after dinner.
Now, James, are you sure it's wise? It looks terribly cold and treacherous out there.
Any place is safer for you than this. As soon as we reach the mission, the Reverend What's-His-Name can marry us.
Well, now, James, we don't want to rush into anything.
Look here, Ethel, you're not cooling towards me, are you?
Of course not, but I'm a little tired of being followed around and guarded all the time. A girl likes the pleasure of defending herself once in a while. Can't you understand that?
I cannot.
Well, James, dear, then I think you have a few things to learn about women.
He's coming back. Now, remember, we're getting out of here tonight.
I'm sorry to have been so long, but that was some government business.
Are we going to eat now?
We certainly are, right this minute.
That was a wonderful dinner, Mr. Dinsmore.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Where did Sir James go?
He went up to his room when you went out to the kitchen. He always takes a nap directly after dinner.
Doesn't that seem a little tedious to you?
No, I don't think so. And I would hardly admit it if I did.
Mind if I put on the phonograph?
Not at all.
Would you care to dance?
I'd love to.
I don't know any of the newest steps. It's been a couple of years since I've had any practice. Remember when they used to play this at the school dances?
I certainly do.
You were one of the most popular girls in the school then. I saw you running around with any old fussy-duddies then.
That's not very kind to Sir James.
Sir James can take care of himself all right. I wish I'd known you then. I think we'd have made a nice couple at the schoolhouse.
Who did you go around with in school?
Suzanne Winters, my senior year. Did you know her?
Yes. I never cared much for her.
None of the girls did. Suzanne wasn't the type of girl that had many women friends. Ethel, I wish you wouldn't marry such little twaddle. You'll be terribly unhappy. You'll regret it till you're gray.
Why?
For sure, a girl who likes to have a little fun out of life. You don't want a bag of wind and a monocle. You want someone young and dashing. Went to the same school. Knows the same people.
Mm-hmm. I suppose you mean someone a little on your type?
I mean someone quite a lot of my type. I mean me.
That record's been repeating over and over. Aren't you getting a little tired of it?
I could listen to it forever with you.
Let's turn it off. I think we've danced quite long enough.
All right. Tell me one thing. If I'd met you at State before there was a Sir James, would I have had a chance?
Yes. Yes, I think you would.
Oh, darling.
Well, I wasn't aware that you would take that as an invitation to kiss me, Mr. Dinsmore.
I wasn't aware that I would either. I guess that's just a little of the old State spirit that hasn't been frozen yet. I hope you're not angry.
I'm not angry, Mr. Dinsmore. I was just wishing I had met you at State. We'd better shut off that phonograph right now. Talking about the old school days is a little dangerous, isn't it?
I think it's fun.
May I ask, sir, what the deuce you're doing with lipstick on?
How do you like the shade on me?
I don't. Dinsmore, I'd like to know what your motive is in keeping us here.
Keeping you here? You flatter yourself, my dear Fenton.
I heard that impudent message you sent on the radio. They read it right at my own banquet, with my name attached to it. We are staying on for the winter sports, it said.
Well, I'll tell you, Fenton. Your original message was so dull. I thought it ought to be lightened up a bit. What are you kicking about? I made a hero out of you. You're a big man now. You can go out and live.
Dascom, tell me something.
Oh, so now it's Dascom.
Why did you ever come up here to the Arctic Circle all by yourself?
Well, to tell you the truth, I didn't expect to come alone. I expected Clara to follow me up here. She said she'd arrive in the last boat, and I sledged down 20 miles to meet her. My heart simply bursting with affection. But she didn't come.
Well, of course, it takes an extraordinary amount of appeal to get a woman way up here.
And you stayed on here all by yourself for
That's
2
right.
years?
That's right. I'd accepted the job, and I had to keep it.
Oh, I think that was very admirable of you.
I have reached the end of all human endurance. Dinsmore, put up your hands.
Are you kidding with that gun?
Miss Campion and I are leaving here tonight. Your Eskimo boy is taking us. Now, I want you to sit right there, and I don't want to hear so much as a peep out of you.
Peep?
Ethel, you hold this gun on him while I get your things. If he makes a move, shoot him in the leg.
Which leg, James?
First shot, right leg. Second shot, the left. I'll be back in a moment with the bag.
Ethel, darling, I don't know if this is the proper occasion or not. Will you marry me?
No, Dascom. I promised Sir James.
You love him?
Yes.
I wonder if you believe that in your heart.
Of course I believe it.
Then I feel very sorry for you. Because you're going to wake up some morning when you're middle-aged and realize you've been cheated out of something.
Here are the bags. I'll hold the gun while you put your wraps on.
Don't go, darling. Think what the rest of your life is going to be. Sir James, morning, noon, and night, Ethel.
See, Dinsmore, I'll be attractive morning, noon, and night.
Well, don't tell me. Tell the lady.
Are you ready to come, my dear?
Think fast, Ethel. Think carefully. Sir James's temper. Sir James's pills. Sir James's speeches.
Pills in my speeches. And I don't have lumbago.
You will.
I will not. Ethel, I will not have lumbago. Will you kill this fellow? I will not have lumbago.
You're going to have apoplexy any moment.
Ethel, I am going to run amok.
All right, darling, we'll go.
And it's goodbye, Ethel?
Yes, Dascom.
Will you kiss me goodbye?
She will not.
Of course I will.
That's enough. That's long enough. Confound it, fella, do I have to shoot you in the back? Ethel, what would your mother say if she could see you now? I am going to become very violent in a moment now.
Goodbye, darling.
Goodbye, Dascom. Come on, James.
Sorry to see you go. Crash in on me anytime you can.
Don't cry, Ethel. We'll soon be miles away from this unpleasant place.
Dascom, darling.
Clara, where did you come from? Come in, come in.
I came from Seattle to marry you.
Oh.
Well, that's a cordial welcome, I must say, after all the miles of snow I've just lathered across.
You're about 2 years late, aren't you, Clara?
Oh, well, darling, it took me a little longer to get ready than I expected. I didn't let you know exactly when I was coming because, well, I wanted to surprise you.
You did?
Well, now, this is what I call real cozy. I think I'll move the sofa over in front of the fire and get those pictures in the other room. Oh, and by the way, darling, we stopped off at the Reverend Benson's for coffee on the way, and he'll be over next Wednesday to marry us.
This is a little sudden, isn't it? I'm a great believer in long engagements myself.
Well, darling, you've had one.
That liar Dascom Dinsmore said there wasn't a habitation within 100 miles. And here's an excellent cabin already.
What a nice fire. Pretty dark in here, though. I wonder if there are any lamps.
Oh, hello. I'm Clara Wilson of Seattle, Mr. Dinsmore's fiancée.
Whose fiancée?
Mr. Dinsmore's. This is his house.
That Eskimo boy took us right around in a circle. We were right back where we started.
The traitor.
I just arrived.
In the nick of time, if you ask me.
Mr. Dinsmore and I are being married next Wednesday at 5. Oh, I hope you'll be able to stay till then. It would be so nice to have some guests for the wedding.
Ethel, why don't we make it a double wedding, if Miss Wilson doesn't object? And then all our troubles will be solved.
Well, I don't know, James. We don't want to rush into anything. I rather favor long engagements myself.
2 years is a long engagement. By Jove, I'm beginning to feel much happier about this entire situation.
Well, I'm glad you are. Do you know, Miss Wilson, you remind me so much of a girl I went to school with. Her name was Suzanne Winters.
Really?
Well, now, this is all going to be capital, just capital.
Mr. Dinsmore, will you stand here, please? Miss Wilson, you play the organ. Miss Campion, you will stand in front of me with Sir James. Are you ready at the organ, Miss Wilson? All right, begin. 1, 2, 3, 4.
You have the wrong page, Reverend. That's the baptism of infants.
Oh. Dearly beloved, we are gathered together in the sight of God and in the face of this company.
Oh,
what's the matter, then?
James, I can't go through with it just now. I can't. I think I'm going to faint.
Oh, dear. Well, suppose we proceed with the other ceremony while the young lady steadies herself. We can't waste any time, you know. It's a long trip home.
Excellent idea.
Oh, no, Sir James. I wouldn't think of running my marriage in ahead of yours.
Oh, that's all right. Help yourself.
Oh, come, darling.
Oh, Clara, I'm not feeling well. I'm a terribly sick man.
Will Miss Campion favor us at the organ?
Well, I'm afraid I'm a little out of practice.
Well, after all, I played for you, Ethel. You can at least try.
Well, all right.
Pardon me, I think you're a trifle fast.
Well, you seemed in a hurry.
Now you're too slow.
Perhaps you'd prefer to play your own wedding march.
Ethel, this is a sacred occasion.
Oh, well, let's try it again. Dascom, where are you?
Here I am on the sofa.
Well, will you please get up here? Now, please, let's try the organ again. You're not even trying.
I am trying. I told you I was out of practice, but you insisted. You're always insisting upon somebody's doing something. You too, James. Seems to me when people are in a place where there's nothing to do, it's much better not to do it. It's all perfectly ridiculous getting married up here anyway. And you all look absolutely silly. You especially, Dascom. You look hideous in tails.
He doesn't.
He does.
I do.
Ethel, please.
No, Jim. I simply wash my hands of the whole business. If they must get married, let them get married in silence. Rector, will you please see if you can't do something about an airplane? If you can't get an airplane, get anything. Maybe somebody's got a balloon.
Well, we can't get married without music. I can't march without music. My soul cries for music. This is all very depressing, stumbling over rugs, women weeping, that hideous organ. I'm not going to get married today. I'm not in the mood.
Don't cry. That scoundrel, that low scoundrel. I'm going to tear him to pieces any minute now. Any minute at all.
Sir James, have a drink.
Thanks, I will. Dascom, this is going to be a bitter pill for you to swallow, old boy. But you might as well look it in the eye. I'm a much better match than you are. I've a title, a distinctly promising political career, a 20,000-acre farm in Saskatchewan, a house in London, and a doggone neat yacht.
In fact, you're a good all-around man.
That is so. And if there is any nobility at all in your soul, you ought to want Ethel to get me.
I suppose, in a way, I should.
Of course you should, old boy. Of course you should.
Dascom, are you going to make me go back to Seattle and say you refuse to marry me?
Would you do that, you shameless bounder?
Clara, I'm a man of honor. I hadn't heard from you in 2 years. So I proposed to Ethel.
Ethel, will you kindly come out here a moment?
Well, she didn't accept you, did she?
So James never gave her a chance to answer.
Well, what is it, James?
Ethel, have you been letting this fellow propose to you?
My dear James, when a man makes up his mind to propose, a woman can't stop him. And I'm afraid in a weak moment, I accepted him.
I don't like to be unpleasant, but it's getting very late, and if anybody wants to get married, I wish they'd let me know, because I've got to start home.
Miss Campion and I want to get married, Rector.
That's a little confusing, but I'm not going to think about it, because I don't want to get confused. Just stand up and join hands, please.
But what's going to happen to Miss Wilson and me?
You'll just have to wait your turn. Let me get these two married before something happens to tangle you four up again. Dearly beloved, we are gathered together in the sight of God and in the face of this company.
I love you, Miss Campion. I'll try very hard to make you happy.
Mr. Dinsmore, please don't interrupt.
I was only telling Miss Campion that I loved her.
There'll be plenty of time for that after the ceremony, Mr. Dinsmore.
Dascom, I can't go back to Seattle and tell everyone you wouldn't marry me.
Ethel, I can't go to Montreal without you. And just tell me how this is going to look in Parliament. I'll be a laughingstock.
Well, Sir James, you're not in Parliament.
Oh, well, I've sat for 2 terms at Ottawa.
Not really. Well, now, isn't this a small world? I was in Ottawa all last winter, and there you were in the same city.
I'm afraid I wasn't there last winter. I went to London to open my townhouse.
You have a townhouse in London?
Oh, yes, Miss Wilson.
Oh, you must call me Clara.
Oh, Clara, perhaps you'll be interested in hearing a little speech I prepared to read before the Montreal Board of Trade on my return.
Oh, I'd just love to hear it.
Well, that's extremely kind of you. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, this is a great occasion. I have just
Hey, Reverend,
returned
where are
from
we
the London
proceeding?
Naval Conference.
Mr. Dinsmore, frankly, you have me so nervous that I don't know whether I'm reading the wedding ceremony or the last rites. Where was I?
You just said in the face of this company.
Oh, thank you very much. To unite together this man and this woman in the bonds of holy matrimony. I now pronounce you man and wife.
The violation which shocked the civilized world to its foundation was, of course, the ultimate cause.
Next couple, please, Sir James.
Will you do me the honor, Miss Wilson?
With pleasure, Sir James.
Oh, you must call me James.
Will you join hands? Dearly beloved, we are gathered in the presence of God in this company. I now pronounce you man and wife. Well, that's that. I've done all that human man can for you, and I'm going home now and rest for 6 months. You four are in the hands of the Almighty now.
Now, Reverend, what kind of an attitude is that?
They say marriages are made in heaven, and heaven will have to take the responsibility for yours. I think you're all crazy, demented, insane, or coming down with something. Whatever it is, I want to get out of here. It might be contagious.
You might call it a fever, Reverend. Just a good old-fashioned case of petticoat fever. It's pretty serious, you know. It usually ends in marriage.
And so we bring down the curtain on tonight's performance of Romance, a program produced each week by Columbia to bring you the great romantic plays and love stories of all time. Romance is produced and directed by Mark Slowe. Tonight's play, Petticoat Fever, was adapted by Jean Holloway from the play by Mark Reed. The cast included Peggy Conklin as Ethel, Santos Ortega as Dascom, Harold Young as Sir James, and Fay Baker as Clara. Music was composed and conducted by Ben Ludlow. Next week, at this same hour, and over many of these CBS stations, we shall bring you another romance. Till then, till curtain time next week, this is Frank Gallup saying good night and wishing you love, happiness, and romance.
CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
To Romance. Tonight, the dramatic love story of the great composer Robert Schumann and Clara Wieck. Love Song. And here is Frank Gallup to set the stage for tonight's tale of romance.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Romance. Once again, we're going to guide you through the pages of one of the world's great love stories. Tonight, we bring you Gertrude Warner as Clara, the beautiful romantic young concert pianist, and Martin Gable as the composer Robert Schumann, with Ted Osborne as Johannes Brahms, in Love Song, a play written for romance by Jean Holloway. It so happened years ago that two great composers loved the same woman. The lady's maiden name was Clara Wieck, and the two great composers who loved her were Robert Schumann and Johannes Brahms. She was a concert pianist. They wrote music for her to play. As we start their story, Johannes is striding across the fields talking to his dog.
Felix! Felix, come back here. Let the rabbits enjoy the morning, too. Come on now. That's a good boy. You know what we're going to do this morning, Felix? We're going to tell a certain lady that as far as we're concerned, she's the most beautiful woman in our whole world, and the most maddening, and the most desirable. And we're going to say to her, Clara, will you do us the great honor of entering our house and our life and becoming the heart of it? Oh, we're not going to say that right away, of course. First, we will play the music we've written for her. And then we will tell her how much we love her. Or maybe we won't have to put it into words. Maybe when she hears our music, she will understand. I sent her a note last night. Dear Clara, I wrote.
Dear Clara, I will come to you at 10 in the morning to play for you my new composition. I'm hoping you will find within its all too unworthy cadenzas something for your heart. Your devoted servant, Johannes Brahms. Oh, dear Johannes.
Well, since you'll be having company in a few minutes, I think I'll be on my way.
Oh, why don't you stay and listen to the music too, Marie?
Because I dislike being a third party anywhere. Clara, have you ever thought of marrying Johannes?
Oh, of course not. He's too good a friend for that. No, Robert was my life, and I lost him. Now my life is over.
Robert's dead and you're alive. You have to make a new life for yourself.
I don't even know where to begin. Marie, when Robert died, he wasn't the man I married. He was a stranger. If I could find him again, if only I could remember what it was like to be young and in love with him, perhaps I could be at peace again. But I can't. Oh, Marie, it's so terrifying to have loved someone so much and to have lost him so completely.
Johannes would make you a fine husband, Clara.
He has never asked me.
He will. You mark my words, he'll ask you. And for your own happiness, you must say yes, Clara. You must say yes.
You're looking well. It's always so good to have a visit from you, Johannes.
It's always so good to come.
You know, I've been puzzling over your message ever since it came. I'm very anxious to hear your music, especially if there's a message in it for me.
May I play it now?
Oh, please do. I'll sit here by the window.
Listen to my song, Clara. This is what you are in my heart, the best of all the music I know. Oh, Clara, these are all the things I find so hard to tell you. What are you thinking? Your eyes are so far away. Do you know what my music is saying? Do you, Clara?
Oh, Robert. Robert. Why should that name be like a knife in my heart even now? This is Johannes' music. Johannes who sits there watching me with his kind, kind eyes. But this is like your music, Robert. This is the way you used to play in Vienna. Oh, yes, this is the way you used to play in Vienna. I can almost see you sitting at the piano. I can almost hear you playing your music.
There, darling, how do you like that?
Oh, Robert, it's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I never heard anything so beautiful. Oh, Robert, it makes me want to laugh and it makes me want to cry.
Quit dancing around the room like a little girl. You're a woman now, you know. You've got to behave like one. I can't have people saying that fool Robert Schumann is in love with a child.
Why should anyone say you're in love with me?
I've made no secret of it. I've gone all over town saying to anyone I met, friend or stranger, do you know that I'm in love with Clara Wieck?
And what do all the friends and strangers say?
I can't repeat it. It's too terrible.
Oh, I wish you wouldn't joke about being in love with me.
If I don't joke, I might cry. That would be worse, wouldn't it?
Why should you cry?
Because the best I'll get out of being in love with you is a broken heart.
Then I wouldn't do it if I were you.
It's a little late for that, I'm afraid. Clara, do you think your father will have me for a son-in-law? Do you think he'll accept me?
I can't speak for my father, but I'll accept you with the greatest of pleasure.
Miss Wieck, for the 114th time, will you set a wedding date?
My patience is wearing mighty thin.
I know, darling, but I keep hoping I can win Father over.
There's not much chance of that when he's forbidden me the house. Clara, I'm tired of meeting you in secret and sending secret letters. I'm going to your father and straighten this out once and for all.
That won't do any good, not now. It's going to take time to change his mind.
Clara, do you love me?
You know I do.
Then at least let me try. He can't deny us forever. Darling, this is our day. 1 hour to be young and in love. That's our moon and sky. This is our world all around us. To discover and to explore together. It's not ours forever, Clara. Only for our youth. We can't afford to waste a day of it.
I know.
I want you. I want you now. I want you in my house before my fire, taking care of my heart. Let me talk to him, Clara, please.
All right, dear. All right.
Robert, you may as well understand here and now that you will never have my consent to marry Clara. She has a great career ahead of her, and she's going to concentrate on that. She's not going to marry for a long time yet. And when she does, it will be to a man of position and standing and money.
In other words, it won't be to a musician.
That remains to be seen. That remains to be seen.
I see you now, striding angrily from the house. And I remember that I watched you go from my bedroom window and cried a little because I knew we should have to wait. And we had little patience for waiting. I went on a concert tour then, and the months that lengthened into years found us corresponding between the various world capitals, and more determined that we find a way to marry in spite of Father's opposition. On my 20th birthday, I was in Paris, and you wrote me from Leipzig and asked me to sign a paper petitioning the High Court to force Father to give his consent. The court's decision was that all three of us should meet and try to reach an understanding. And so we met in court.
Will you please inform this court, Mr. Leake, why you object to this marriage?
I object to this marriage on the grounds that Robert Schumann would be an unsuitable match for my daughter. He is lazy, he is unstable emotionally, he has no money to support a wife, and no security to offer her. I've known him many years, and I do not care much for his habits, his ambitions, or his philosophy.
If the court please. Through the many years of our acquaintance, I have found Robert Schumann everything to look up to and honor in a man, which is more than I can say for my own father right now.
Clara, my daughter.
Father, you may as well make up your mind to face it. I've waited as long as I intend to. I love Robert, and I'm going to marry him. And no one in the world is going to stop me. Even if you and I must become enemies, I will still marry him.
If the court pleases, I will be glad to testify to the character of Robert Schumann. Your name? Felix Mendelssohn.
And I will vouch for his ability as a composer.
Your name?
Franz Liszt. I am not personally acquainted with Mr. Schumann, but I know his music well and respect it.
I'll witness for you, Robert.
And so will
Mrs. Schumann. Mrs. Robert Schumann. Isn't that a beautiful name, though? Mrs. Robert Schumann accepts your kind invitation to tea. Mrs. Robert Schumann will be delighted to attend your musicale. Just say that Mrs. Robert Schumann is called. Oh, it sounds beautiful any way you say it, doesn't it?
Are you happy?
Happy? Oh, I could never begin to tell you. I've been Mrs. Robert Schumann for 2 hours and 17 minutes, and I'm completely inarticulate on the subject.
You're so beautiful.
You're so handsome. Oh, Robert, do you suppose anyone was ever this happy before?
Never.
You won't ever leave me now, will you? You won't ever leave me?
Leave you? I should say not. Whatever made you think of that?
I don't know. I had such a funny dream last night. I dreamt I followed you up a mountain, and when I got almost to the top, suddenly you were gone, and I couldn't find my way up or down the mountain. And I woke up crying. Robert, if I lost you, I think I'd die.
Clara, look at me. I want to say something, and I want you to remember it always. If you should walk away from me this moment, I'd follow you and find you, even if I had to go to the ends of the earth. Without you, I don't amount to very much. But with you, there's always music singing inside me. Clara, we'll never lose one another, because even if God did see fit to separate us, you could always find me in my music. And I will always find you there.
Oh, Robert, when I think of all the poor women who aren't married to you, I could just die of happiness and pity.
You're very sweet.
You're very handsome.
We're repeating ourselves. Darling, let me give you a creed. Your future will be my future. Your destiny, my destiny. Will you give me your hand on that?
I'll give you my heart. Oh, Robert, how well I remember every word you said that day and how you looked. There was a lock of hair that kept slipping in your eyes, and your arms were young and strong about me. It was easy to forget the terror of the dream of losing you when I was looking in your eyes. So I gave you my hand and my heart and put my happiness in your keeping. They were beautiful days, those days that followed. But there was an undercurrent to them that was the first warning. But I didn't realize it.
Your hands are so red and rough, Clara. You've been scrubbing again, haven't you? I wish you wouldn't.
Oh, I like things clean and shining, Robert.
I don't want you to become a drudge. I want you to be a princess on a satin throne.
I'd rather be a wife. I like to take care of the house. Robert, do my hands seem ugly to you?
Ah, they're beautiful. But they hurt me. Clara, I want to make a great deal of money. I want to put the whole world at your feet.
I have my whole world right now.
Clara, listen to this music I've written. You know what it says to you?
It's the most beautiful music I've ever heard.
It's a love song. It says, Clara, I love you and will always love you, now and through whatever times may come. And it says, happy anniversary, my dear.
Anniversary?
Do you know what night this is?
Tuesday.
The date?
June 6th. Why?
This was the night you promised to marry me. Shall we celebrate it or mourn it?
What do you want to do?
What do I want to do? I guess I just want to say thank you.
Oh, Robert. Oh, isn't it a beautiful night? Someone must have planned it just for this anniversary. Mr. Schumann, you've made me very happy.
Mrs. Schumann, you have a smudge on your nose.
Oh, heavens, what a social error. Is it becoming...
On you it is.
Oh, how nice it is to be married to such a lovely person. And such a great composer. The greatest composer in the world.
And the poorest.
Strange. I thought we were rather wealthy. Underneath the fun, the laughter, the tears, the undercurrent began to grow. That burning desire on your part to have more. My poor Robert. You never realize that the world has a habit of starving its great artists. And so you broke your heart trying. I couldn't tell you what hour, what day, what season it was when you started to draw away from me. I only know that one day I had you, and the next you were gone. I was afraid to put the cold fear that stabbed at me into words, but one day you spoke of it, and the shadow fell across my heart.
Clara, I want to ask you something. You were crying in your sleep last night. That's the second time you've done that this week. Is something wrong?
No, of course not. What could be wrong?
Have I offended you in some way?
Well, I didn't know I was crying, Robert. I had a bad dream, that was all.
What were you dreaming?
I've forgotten.
Look at me, Clara. What is it? You haven't forgotten. You've been dreaming a lot lately, and you always say the same things in your dreams.
What do I say?
You say my name over and over, and sometimes, Robert, come back to me. Clara, tell me what it is, what you've been dreaming. Let's get it out in the light and look at it.
I dream that I'm out in space, with fog closing in around me, and I keep calling your name. But all I hear is your laughter, and yet it isn't your laughter. It's loud and shrill and horrible. And yet I keep dreaming that it's you. And then you come and stand beside me and look down at me, but you don't recognize me. And I'm all alone, with eternity stretching on all sides.
Oh, Clara.
Robert, you seem so far away lately. It seems as though every day you go into some room where I can't reach you and shut the door. And yet you're right there at the piano. Oh, Robert, I'm lonely.
I'm sorry. All of a sudden, there's so much I want to put into music.
Robert, when we were first married, you made up a creed for us. Do you remember it?
I'm sorry, I'm afraid I don't.
You said, your destiny will be my destiny. Your future, my future.
We were young and sentimental.
We were in love.
Love changes, Clara. It grows older with us. It doesn't always turn out to be the way we plan it when we're young.
You sound disappointed.
Life is disappointing, Clara.
Darling, you're working too hard. Let's take a holiday and forget about music for a while.
Forget about music? No. Life is too short for all that I must do. Life is too short, I tell you.
You have the best part of your life ahead of you. You have years to write music.
No, Clara, the best of my life is behind me. What remains is not much and not enough.
Robert.
I must get back to the piano. You must excuse me, my dear. I've wasted too much time this evening.
Won't you please rest
Clara,
tonight?
I must ask you not to interfere. I've work to do.
Yes, Robert. Of course. I wish I'd known the right things to say to you, Robert. I wish I'd been able to give you back your faith in life. But suddenly you were a stranger that I couldn't reach, no matter how desperately I tried. I could only follow behind you. You were driving yourself mercilessly. Night after night, day after day, you sat at that piano composing music beyond anything I'd ever heard in my life. Music that was a glory and a curse. Darling, your new symphony is wonderful.
I'm glad you like it.
I think it will rank with the great music of all time. Oh, Robert, you look so tired. Come upstairs and rest.
I don't want to go upstairs. I can't rest. Every time I try to sleep, I keep hearing notes.
Notes?
Yes, notes. Notes hammering in my brain, pounding, drumming against my consciousness until I want to beat my head against the wall to drive them out.
Oh, my poor Robert. You must go to the doctor in the morning. He'll give you something that will help you rest.
I'm beyond doctors, Clara. I know that. I've known it for quite a while. That's why I've been working against time like this. I'm going to die, Clara. I know it. Inside me.
You'll be all right when you get some rest.
I tell you, there is no rest for me. I keep hearing music, ringing through my head until it's unbearable. Sounding, never stopping. I'm chained to music, Clara.
We must do something. There must be something. We can't let you suffer this way.
Clara, I want you to leave me.
You want me to leave you?
Yes.
Is it because you've stopped loving me?
Clara, don't you understand? I've lost my right to love songs and to lullabies.
That isn't true.
Isn't it? Perhaps we should put more faith in dreams, after all. You should have left me long ago, Clara.
Robert, I love you.
If that's true, then leave this house while you still do love me. If you stay, you'll lose even your memories. You'll hate me.
I'll never leave you, Robert. You're my husband and my place is with you. What kind of a wife would I be if I deserted you when you were ill and unhappy?
I don't want you here.
Nevertheless, I'm staying.
Clara, please. Why won't you listen to me? I'm warning you, Clara.
And then, the night I dreamed about so often. Robert, where are you going? Robert, what's wrong?
I'm going out. I've got to write some music. I'm going out. I've got to write some music. Curse
the music? Why won't it get out of my head? Why can't I shut it out?
Robert, please sit down. Don't go outside.
Get out of my way!
Robert!
Get out of my way before I kill you!
Clara, come into the library. I want to talk to you.
Johannes, were you able to find Robert? Tell me, did you find him? Johannes, don't stand there looking like that. Tell me what's happened to Robert.
I'm not going to tell you until you have yourself more under control, Clara.
I'm all right, but I must know.
Robert tried to drown himself. They're bringing him here. But, Clara, it would be so much better if you didn't see him. He must go to an asylum, Clara.
An asylum? Oh, no. Oh, no. Not Robert. Oh, he just isn't feeling well. He's tired. He'll be all right when he gets some rest. I know he'll be all right.
There he is. They're bringing him in now, Clara.
I must stay, Johannes.
Evening, Mrs. Schumann. Where shall we take him?
Robert. Robert, darling, look at me. Robert!
Who's that woman? What's wrong with her?
Better take him upstairs.
Upstairs. Upstairs where the music is.
Oh, my poor darling.
Clara, I'll arrange to have him taken in the morning.
Yes. In the morning. It was 3 years before I saw you again. 3 years that I walked the earth a stranger to it. I never saw beauty again, or looked for it. I'd lived for you and lost you, and everything was over for me. And yet I still held to one thin thread of hope, until one day even that was torn from me.
Clara, you must come at once. Robert is dying.
But I don't understand, Doctor.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Schumann. I can't permit you to go in.
My husband is dying. You couldn't be cruel enough to keep me from seeing him at a time like this.
Mrs. Schumann, your husband died a long time ago. When the mind goes, so does the man. I'm doing this for your sake. There's no point in subjecting to you to what could only be a cruel ordeal.
But he's my husband. All that I've known of happiness and living has been bound up in him.
Mrs. Schumann, the man in that room is no one you ever knew or would want to know. He's insane.
But if I saw him, if I held out my arms the way I used to, if I smiled, perhaps for that one moment he'd be Robert Schumann again. Oh, you have no right to refuse me. You have no right.
Try to understand. Go home. Shut that part of your life.
No. No. Oh, Robert. Oh, won't anyone help me?
Doctor, your patient, Robert Schumann, is dead.
After you died, I walked alone through the night, trying to find you again. Trying to cross the silence of the past few years with my own longing. Trying to find solace in memories. But I couldn't find you, Robert. All these years, only the loyalty of our friend Johannes has given me courage to live. Robert, he's been a dear friend. And one I've grown to love so deeply.
Well, Clara, did you like my music? I wrote it for you.
Oh, Johannes, that was beautiful. It was a love song, wasn't it?
Clara, then you do understand. All these years I've held my peace.
But now I've been able to tell you with my music what is in my heart.
Yes, Johannes.
Clara, Oh, Clara, my dear, you do know. I've tried so hard to put it into music for you.
And you did. So beautifully. I don't know how I can ever thank you. Oh, Johannes, you've given Robert back to me.
This is Frank Gallup bringing down the curtain on tonight's performance of Romance, a program produced each week by Columbia to bring you the great romantic plays and love stories of all time. Romance is produced and directed by Mark Loeb. Tonight's play was written for Romance by Jean Holloway. The cast included Gertrude Warner as Clara, Martin Gable as Robert, and Ted Osborne as Johannes. Vera Brodsky was featured at the piano. Music was conducted by Ben Ludlow. Next week, at this same hour and over many of these stations, we shall bring you another romance. Our play will be the famous parlor comedy Holiday by Philip Barry. Till then, till curtain time next week, this is Frank Gallup saying good night and wishing you love, happiness, and romance.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System. We will interrupt the following program to bring you any late news developments. Columbia brings you Romance. Tonight, the famous novel, stage, and screenplay, Pride and Prejudice. And here is Sidney Smith to set the stage for tonight's tale of romance.
Good evening and welcome to Romance. Once again, we are ready to guide you through the pages of one of the world's greatest love stories. Tonight, we bring you Doris Dalton as Elizabeth, who was too proud for love, and Myron McCormick as Darcy, who was too prejudiced for romance, with Ethel Owen as Mrs. Bennet and Alfred Shirley as Mr. Bennet in Jean Holloway's adaptation of Jane Austen's famous novel, Pride and Prejudice. Pride and Prejudice is a story based on a certain belief widely subscribed to by mothers at the turn of the 18th century.
It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife.
The lady you just heard speaking is Mrs. Bennet, wife of Mr. Bennet of the estate known as Longbourn in England, and mother of 5 daughters.
Jane, Elizabeth,
Kitty, Lydia,
and Mary.
Finding a single man in possession of a good fortune for 5 girls was enough to try the patience of a far more patient lady than Mrs. Bennet. We're going to tell you the story of her second eldest daughter, Elizabeth, but you'll find that all the girls figure in it. Elizabeth Bennet was a beautiful girl, proud, oh my yes, and prejudiced, oh very strongly, against a certain Mr. Darcy. This is why. Elizabeth was at a ball given by a new man in the community, a Mr. Bingley, who appeared quite interested in Elizabeth's elder sister, Jane. Well, at the ball, Elizabeth was sitting out a dance alone when she overheard...
Why are you standing over here by yourself, Darcy? Come on, let me see you dance a few sets.
Thank you, no. You're dancing with the only pretty girl in the room.
Jane Bennet? Yes, she is beautiful, I'll not deny that. But there's her sister Elizabeth sitting over there to the right, who's very beautiful herself. Let me present you to her.
Sorry, old man. She may look all right to you, but she doesn't tempt me. And I'm not in a good enough humor to feel like putting up with young ladies who have no partner.
You can easily see why Elizabeth Bennet became more than a little prejudiced against Mr. Darcy. The next time they came together, was an informal party at a friend's. Elizabeth was just crossing the room when...
Elizabeth, my dear, how charming you look this evening. Mr. Darcy, you must permit me to introduce this young lady to you as a most desirable dancing partner.
Thank you, Sir William. Miss Bennet?
You needn't worry, Mr. Darcy. I haven't the slightest intention of dancing. I'm sorry, Sir William. I wasn't moving in this direction in the hope of a partner. I'm a little tired this evening.
Well, surely you won't refuse me.
I suppose I must be the first that ever has, Mr. Darcy. But I'm rather critical of my dancing partner, just as you are. And now, please excuse me.
Miss Bennet, don't you know that it takes two people to fully appreciate a moonlit evening? You shouldn't be sitting here by yourself.
What amazing conceit you have, Mr. Darcy, to think that you could add anything to a moonlit evening.
You don't like me, do you, Miss Bennet?
That's an understatement, Mr. Darcy.
I'm very sorry. For there's something that seems to draw me to you. The room was suddenly empty when you walked out of it. Or perhaps it was my heart. Why do you dislike me?
Oh, Mr. Darcy, I couldn't begin to tell you.
Well, then, I certainly won't force myself upon you any longer. Good evening, Miss Bennet.
Good evening, Mr. Darcy.
Well, Darcy, why are you walking up and down so late out here? It's almost 3 in the morning.
Why are you walking up and down so late, Bingley?
I'm, Darcy, don't you think Miss Jane Bennet is a truly remarkable girl?
Yes. But I haven't been keeping myself awake over that. I've been thinking what a remarkable girl Miss Elizabeth Bennet is.
Oh, I thought you detested her.
I did. But I seem to have become a little mixed up in my emotions.
It's so late, Elizabeth. We really should go to bed.
I know, but the moonlight's so bright.
Elizabeth, don't you think Mr. Bingley is very handsome?
Very.
And extremely clever.
Extremely.
And delightfully charming.
Delightfully.
Elizabeth, you aren't really listening to me at all. What are you thinking about?
How much I dislike Mr. Darcy.
Now, while Jane and Bingley were busy dreaming about one another, and while Darcy was dreaming about Elizabeth, and Elizabeth was thinking about how much she disliked him, Mrs. Bennet was busy settling the lives of 3 of them.
Mrs. Bennet, will you please come to bed? You make me so nervous charging up and down the room that I can't close my eyes.
Well, Mr. Bennet, if you don't care anything about the future of your daughters, I do. I've got to get them married and settled. Good heavens, I have 5 on my hands, and practically no one I know has more than 2 to worry about.
Mrs. Bennet, why not leave that in the hands of Providence for tonight? There's really very small chance of you getting them married at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Jane, of course, will marry Mr. Bingley. Now, Elizabeth. I think Elizabeth must marry Mr. Collins.
Mr. Collins, that unpleasant cousin of mine?
Mr. Collins told me Monday when he arrived for his visit that he wishes to marry and take a wife back with him. I think that may as well be Elizabeth.
Elizabeth isn't in love with Mr. Collins.
Mr. Bennet, I can't wait around for her to fall in love. No, sir, Mr. Collins shall have your permission to speak to her tomorrow, and she will accept it.
All right. May I go to sleep now, Mrs. Bennet?
Yes, Mr. Bennet, you may.
Miss Elizabeth, permit me to tell you that I have your mother's permission for this address. Before my feelings run away with me on this subject, perhaps it would be advisable for me to state my reasons for marrying.
Marrying? Oh, Mr. Collins, please don't say any
Miss
more.
Elizabeth, please, do not interrupt.
Oh.
First, I think that every clergyman in easy circumstances should set an example in matrimony to his parish. Secondly, I think...
Mr. Collins, please don't say any more. I thank you for the compliment you're paying me, but I must decline it.
I am prepared to be refused at first. I shall not let it upset me. I shall ask you again.
It's no use, Mr. Collins. You see, I'm not in love with you.
Oh. You may find much in me to love, Miss Bennet. I have some very sterling qualities. My patroness and esteemed friend, Lady Catherine de Broe, will be most disappointed. I've already informed her of my intentions towards you. She is most anxious to see me settled, and to see her own daughter settled with Mr. Darcy.
Mr. Darcy?
They have been engaged since they were born. Lady Catherine and Mr. Darcy's mother made all the arrangements.
I wish her great joy.
You look unhappy about something. Have you become well acquainted with Mr. Darcy?
No, I haven't. And I'm sure I never will. He's the most impossible, vain, egotistical, unpleasant, ill-mannered man it's ever been my bad fortune to meet.
I'm sorry I didn't mention Mr. Darcy sooner, Miss Elizabeth. I would have known then why there is no hope for me.
Mr. Bennet, you will kindly speak to your daughter Elizabeth immediately.
What has she done, Mrs. Bennet?
I've just refused Mr. Collins.
I am not speaking to Elizabeth at the moment, Mr. Bennet, but I expect you to inform her that you insist upon her marrying him.
Well, Elizabeth, an unhappy alternative seems to be before you. From this day you must be a stranger to one of your parents. Your mother will never speak to you again if you do not marry Mr. Collins, and I will never speak to you again if you do.
Mr. Bennet, this is the grossest insubordination.
Yes, Mrs. Bennet.
Elizabeth, do you want to be an old maid?
I'd just as soon as marry someone I didn't love.
As far back as I can remember, there has never been an old maid in either your father's family or mine. I'm going to be upset, and you don't really want to upset me, do you, Elizabeth?
No, Mother, but I don't want to marry Mr. Collins either. And of the two, having you stop speaking to me would be the lesser disappointment.
I am hurt deeply, Elizabeth. Deeply and gravely.
I'm very sorry, Mother. Please excuse me.
Oh, dear, oh me, oh, dear, oh me. Girls nowadays are certainly not as obedient as they used to be.
Maybe just as well, Mrs. Bennet. Now I shall be glad to have the library to myself, if you don't mind.
At least Jane is not defying me. Jane will marry Mr. Bingley, and then I will only have 4 girls to worry about.
Miss Bennet. Oh, Miss Bennet.
Mr. Darcy.
We seem to be walking in the same direction.
I can change my direction. I'm just out for a little pleasant air. I've had a wearing day.
I'll change my direction. I wouldn't think of spoiling your walk.
Just as you wish, Mr. Darcy.
This seems to be as good a time as any to say goodbye, I suppose.
Goodbye? I thought you and Mr. Bingley were going to be here all winter.
We had a change of plans. My sister has not been well, and I'm taking her to Italy. Bingley's coming along with us. He and Gladys have... Well, there's been an understanding between them for some time. You follow me, don't you?
Perfectly, Mr. Darcy.
I think they'll be getting married in the spring as soon as we can work it out. When 2 people are in love, there's no point in waiting.
Of course not. Especially if one of the people seems to be falling in love with someone else.
You do follow me. You see, Miss Bennet, you have a designing mother. And my sister's happiness is at stake.
It doesn't matter to you, of course, that my sister Jane's happiness is at stake, too.
I shall be very sorry if this causes her pain. But after all, she and Bingley have not been acquainted very long, and there has certainly been nothing serious between them.
Mr. Darcy, I've met some thoroughly despicable people in my day, but no one that can hold a candle to you.
And I've met some shrews in my day, Miss Bennet, but never a more bad-tempered one than you.
What right have you to interfere in other people's lives? Why should you persuade Mr. Bingley to leave when he and Jane think so much of one another?
If he thought so much of Jane, he would refuse to leave.
Who knows what lies you've told him to persuade him to go?
I never lie, Miss Bennet. And if I thought your sister and Bingley could be happy, I would do everything in my power to keep them together.
Why don't you just mind your own business?
Because I'm not going to see a friend of mine taken in by a scheming woman. Your mother and sister have set out to trick Bingley into marriage by fair means or foul, and they're not going to get away with it.
That's a contemptible lie.
Is it? Your mother talks too much, Miss Bennet. Much too much for someone after such an elusive thing as a proposal of marriage. She's been telling everyone in the neighborhood that Miss Jane and Bingley were as good as engaged. Well, now that she's made that little bed, she and Jane will have to lie in it. Alone. And now, good day, Miss Bennet. Good day and goodbye. I'm sorry we were never able to get along because
I think you're a fine and beautiful woman. Whatever I think of the designs of your mother and sister.
Do you think I care what you think of me?
No, I entertain no such hopes, Miss Bennett. If I ever had any little conceits, you've long since destroyed them. Undoubtedly, that will give you great personal satisfaction.
Goodbye, Mr. Darcy. I hope you'll be very happy in Italy.
If it's any consolation to you, I won't. You see, I haven't escaped entirely unscathed in this fray. I have a few wounds to lick myself. Goodbye, Miss
Mrs. Bennett, will you kindly stop that infernal noise?
Oh, my poor Jane, my poor broken-hearted baby. How could any man be so cruel and black-hearted? How could any man go off without a word of farewell after all the attentions he showed us?
Please. You're keeping everyone in the house away.
How can you be so callous, Elizabeth Bennet? Don't you care that your sister has a broken heart?
Of course I do, but I think it'd be so much better for her and for you and all the rest of us if you'd go to sleep.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Oh, when I think of how that man has treated her, going off without even saying goodbye.
He sent a note to you and thanked you for all your courtesies towards him.
A note? Oh! When I think how I felt when that note came.
Oh, eternal perdition.
Mother, please stop crying about me. I'm all right.
My baby, my poor broken-hearted baby.
Mother, I don't want to hear any more of this. It's humiliating and very upsetting. I would appreciate it if you never mentioned Mr. Bingley's name to me again. Come on, Elizabeth. Let's go back to our room. Good night, Father. Mother.
Good night, girls.
Good night.
No, Mr. Bennett. Now I've got to start from scratch again. I've got 5 daughters and not one husband in sight. I declare I could just cry. I'm that disappointed.
Elizabeth, please don't hum that song.
Oh, sorry, dear. I didn't mean to be annoying.
That's one of Mr. Bingley's favorite songs. He sang it to me at the ball. Elizabeth, I'm afraid I love him very much. I ought to be too proud to admit that. But tonight I don't seem to have any pride. Tonight all I can think is how lovely life was for a few weeks. How lovely it might have been.
Oh, Jane.
You don't know what it's like, Elizabeth. You've never been in love. It hurts so much you want to die, and yet you know you won't die. That you'll go on living with the hurt. And when the hurt finally goes, you'll be completely empty.
Empty. The room was suddenly empty when you walked out. Or perhaps it was my heart.
What are you talking about?
Someone said that to me once.
You never told me. Someone you loved?
Someone I might have loved.
I know who, Elizabeth, I guess. I'm sorry I said that. It was selfish of me. You know far more about how love can hurt than I. I at least had a few weeks of happiness.
I did not say I was in love. I only said I might have been, if I didn't despise him so.
Don't be too proud, Elizabeth. Pride is such a lonely thing when you choose it in place of love.
Pride is all I have, all I've been offered, and all I want. Good night, Jane. I'm very sleepy.
Good night, Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, my dear, that nice Mr. Darcy is in the parlor. He's come to call on you.
Mr. Darcy? To call on me?
That's right. Hurry along, dear. Oh, wait a minute. Let me straighten your hair. Now, run along now. Run along.
Well, Mr. Darcy, this is a surprise.
Good afternoon, Miss Bennett.
You're looking thin and not a bit well. Didn't Italy agree with you?
Not too much, no. Miss Bennett, there is something I must tell you. It's not at all easy, since you've gone to much pains to let me see how distasteful I am to you. But I love you, and I have to tell you.
Have you lost your mind?
No, only my heart.
You ruined my sister's life, and then you have the nerve to stand there and tell me that you love me.
I do love you with all my heart. And with all my heart, I wished you loved me, too. Elizabeth, will you marry me? I offer you a name of some honor through many generations, security and comfort, and my great devotion.
You surely cannot think that I will accept you. Even you could not have that much conceit.
I hoped you might accept me. Let us put it that way.
Mr. Darcy, I've never asked for your good opinion or your love, and I'm amazed that you've chosen to bestow them on me. There have been a lot of tears shed in this house in the past few months, and you have been the cause of all of them. I assure you that I would marry anyone in the world before I'd marry you.
Forgive me for boring you, Miss Bennett, and for taking up your time. Don't think that you can make me ashamed of my love, because it is above reproach and the best that's in me to offer a woman. But I am ashamed of the object of my love. I thought I was kneeling at your feet when I asked you to marry me. Now I see I was stooping a little. Thank you for refusing me. Forgive me for taking up so much of your time, and accept my best wishes for your health and happiness.
No! Oh, Mr. Bennett! Mother, what is it? Mother!
What's wrong, my dear?
It's Lydia. She's run off with a soldier. Look at this note. Oh, my baby, my poor baby. Married without her mother there. God bless her. Oh, Mr. Bennett, he will marry her, won't he? No soldier would be so low as to run off with a young lady and not marry her, would he?
What do you think, Mrs. Bennett?
No! Mr. Bennett! Oh, Elizabeth, now what am I to do? This will ruin us all. We'll never get any husband.
You have all the law allows, my dear.
Aren't you going to get your horsewhip and go after that man, Mr. Bennett?
Yes, madam, I am as soon as I can get dressed. Someone should have warned me what marriage can lead to. I might have avoided all this 30 years ago.
No! Mr. Bennett! Oh.
Madam, be silent. If Lydia isn't married now, she will be very soon. I'll see to that.
I, Lydia, take thee, Robert, to have and to hold.
Father, I want to talk to you.
Yes, Elizabeth?
When you went up to London and got Lydia married, just how did you manage it?
Oh, there was nothing to it, my dear.
Lydia says you gave them £1,000. Where did you get the £1,000, Father?
From Mr. Darcy, Elizabeth.
Mr. Darcy?
Yes, he came to see me. He'd heard about Lydia, and he said the only way to straighten things out was to give them some money to get them started.
You shouldn't have accepted any money like that from Mr. Darcy. He's not a friend of ours, Father.
Not a friend. He's a friend in need. And if that isn't a friend, I don't know what is. It's only a loan. I'll pay it back, Elizabeth. And I couldn't have Lydia up there by herself trying to work to save up enough money so the two of them could make a go of it.
If only it wasn't Mr. Darcy.
It's a shame that you can't find anything good about Mr. Darcy, Elizabeth. And it's a shame that you resent it when you come face to face with something that's so kind and good you can't deny it. Are you in love with Mr. Darcy, daughter?
Why does everyone keep asking me if I'm in love with that man?
Maybe because you have so many symptoms.
It takes more than symptoms to make a case of anything with him. And no matter what he does for this family, I'm not going to be in love with him.
All right, Elizabeth, all right.
Miss Bennett, I am Lady Catherine de Breau.
This is quite an honor, Lady Catherine, having you call on me.
Yes, it is. I've come to talk to you about my nephew, Mr. Darcy. I wish to know once and for all, are you engaged to him?
I am not.
And will you promise me never to enter into such an engagement?
I will not.
Oh. You are then resolved to have him?
As to that, Lady Catherine, I really haven't made up my mind.
Miss Bennett, I am leaving, and I am seriously displeased.
Good day, Lady Catherine.
Good day, Miss Bennett.
Elizabeth,
Oh, Elizabeth, darling, Mr. Bingley and I have something to tell you. We wanted you to be the first to know.
Mr. Bingley, how do you do? I didn't dream you were in this part of the country.
Well, I only returned this morning. Will you tell her, Jane, or shall I?
You don't have to tell me anything. It's written all over your faces. I congratulate you both.
Well, I think I wouldn't even have known that Jane cared if it hadn't been for Darcy. I still get shaky.
Mr. Darcy?
Well, of course. He spent all those months in Italy telling me about Jane. I only left, because I couldn't believe she cared. I wanted to try and get over her. But Darcy kept after me week in, week out, saying, "Where's your courage? At least go back and ask her."
We owe Mr. Darcy a great deal, Elizabeth.
Yes, so it would seem.
He's down at the gypsy camp right now, listening to their music. Why don't you go down and see him?
Yes. Yes, I must. Oh, I've been such a fool. I wonder if he'll ever forgive me. Mr. Darcy.
Miss Bennet.
It seems I owe you some apologies and some gratitude.
Please don't speak of them. It isn't gratitude that I want from you, Elizabeth. My Aunt Catherine tells me that she came to see you. And that you refused to promise not to marry me.
It was shameless of me, I'm afraid. But you see, I hoped you might ask me again. And I didn't want to be bound by promises.
And if I did ask you again, what would my answer be this time?
Surely I don't have to tell you that.
You've told me so many unpleasant things. It would be nice to hear something more to my liking.
Why then, Mr. Darcy, if you did ask me again, I'd say, thank you so much. I'll try very hard to make you happy. And I'd say, I've loved you from the first moment. But I found it very difficult to say so. And I'd say, I'm yours now, whether you want me or not. Completely and forever.
My darling. My darling. I've waited so long.
I know. We got all messed up in a porridge of prejudice and pride. But it'll be beautiful now, my darling.
It had to end this way. We were for each other from the beginning of time. And will always be until the end of time.
I love you, Mr. Darcy. Very, very dearly.
Mrs. Bennet, I'm very sleepy. What are you crying about now?
Oh, Lydia's married, and Jane and Elizabeth soon will be. And we have only 2 daughters left. Oh, Mr. Bennet, we're going to be so lonely all alone. They'll be married, too, before we're turned around, and I've lost my babies.
Madam, you baffle me completely.
That's because you've never been a mother, Mr. Bennet. That's because you've never been a mother.
Praise God, I never shall.
Amen to that, Mr. Bennet.
Amen indeed, madam. And now, please, may I get some sleep?
Yes, Mr. Bennet, you may. Good night.
Good night.
Mr. Bennet is very tired, and I don't want to keep him awake. So we'll just tell you that everyone lived happily ever after, as was the custom in those days, with no further prejudices and just the right amount of pride. This is Sidney Smith, ringing down the curtain on tonight's performance of Romance, a program produced each week by Columbia to bring you the great romantic plays and love stories of all time. Romance is produced and directed by Mark Slobe. Tonight's play, Pride and Prejudice, was adapted for Romance by Jean Holloway. The cast included Doris Dalton as Elizabeth, Myron McCormick as Darcy, Ethel Owen as Mrs. Bennet, and Alfred Shirley as Mr. Bennet. Also heard were Joan Tetzel, Elna Audley, Charles Webster, Burford Hampton,
and John Moore. Music was conducted by Ben Ludlow. Next week, at this same hour, over many of these stations, we shall bring you another romance. Our play will be a well-known comedy, The Boomerang, by Winchell Smith. Till then, till curtain time, next week, this is Sidney Smith saying good night and wishing you love, happiness, and romance.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Colgate Tooth Powder's Theater of Romance presents Goodbye, Mr. Chips. Yes, tonight and every Tuesday night, Colgate Tooth Powder brings you the Theater of Romance, featuring each week your favorite stories and plays, especially adapted for radio. And here is your host of the evening, Arnold Moss, to tell you about this evening's presentation, Goodbye, Mr. Chips.
Good evening, and welcome to Colgate Tooth Powder's Theater of Romance. James Hilton's tender and moving story of the old school teacher, whose life was enriched by one great love, is known to all of you as Goodbye, Mr. Chips. At this moment, Mr. Chips, 85 years weary, with 63 years of schoolmastering behind him, is very ill. His doctor and the headmaster of the school watch him anxiously.
Poor old chap. He must have lived a lonely sort of life all by himself.
Not always by himself. He married, you know.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that.
No, I guess he didn't know. Few people do know now. I wish I found it easier to talk about. Wish I could just speak up and say, yes, I married, and it was heaven and paradise and Eden and Olympia. I lived my lifetime in a year or two and died so long ago that none of you remember. Let me tell you about my Catherine. Her hair was like sunshine and her eyes were blue. And her laughter reached out to me the day we met on top of a mountain, as close to God as it was possible to climb. And she was merry, and I was very cross.
Now, see here, young woman. I don't know what you're laughing at. I climbed all the way up here because I thought you were in difficulty.
Well, it was very gallant of you, and please don't take me unappreciative. But you look so outraged that it's funny.
Well, why on earth were you waving your arms about, sir, if nothing was wrong with you?
I was waving at a friend of mine just below you.
Oh, Dad, I'm afraid I shall have to sit down for a moment.
Oh, what's wrong?
Nothing very serious. I twisted my ankle on that last incline.
Well, let me see it. Oh, it's very swollen. Here, I'll tear off a piece of my petticoat and we'll soak your ankle.
My dear young lady, I'm certainly not going to have you tearing up your undergarment for me. It's quite unnecessary and most embarrassing.
Oh, pooh. Are you going to shut your eyes?
I am not.
Well, just as you like.
Oh.
I thought you'd close them when it came right down to it. You can open them now. The operation's over. Now, I'll just get this wet. Take your shoe and stocking off.
Well, there doesn't seem to be anything else to do.
Now then, we'll just wrap this round your ankle and let it soak for a while. I'll be as gentle as I can. There. Did that hurt? I said, did that hurt? Well, I guess it didn't. Or you'd have had something to say about it. What's your name?
Chipping.
Oh? Well, mine's Catherine, Mr. Chipping. But my friends call me Kathy. What do your friends call you?
Chipping. What would you expect them to call me?
Oh, something a little less formal than Chipping. And a little more friendly.
And, what might such a name be?
Well, that name might be Chips. Mr. Chips. Now, there's a jaunty name with dash to it and a sense of humor.
I rather like it.
I'm glad. I hope you'll use it often. I hope I'll use it often. Oh, look, the sun's going down. We'll have to start back. I'm afraid you'll have to try and put your shoe and sock on.
Oh, very well. Do you mind?
Not at all. I'll gladly turn my back.
Thank you.
It's been a beautiful day, and it's going to be a beautiful night. There's a full moon now, you know. Or do you?
Certainly I know.
It's too bad about your ankle. We might have gone for a walk in the moonlight.
I've never walked in the moonlight with a young lady in my life.
How old are you, Mr. Chips?
48.
Well, I'd be ashamed to admit it. Here, take my hands. I'll help you up.
Oh, all right.
There we are. Now, lean on me and we'll start back. I'm afraid this is going to be rather painful for you.
Thank you. You know something, young lady? I'm beginning to like you very much.
Do you know something, Mr. Chips?
Uh-huh.
I'm beginning to like you very much, too. Hello, Mr. Chips. I brought you some cake. How's the ankle tonight?
Better, but I still can't walk on the blasted thing. Hang it all.
Such strong language from you.
Well, what would you expect? Look at all that moonlight going to waste. What's that piece you're playing, Kathy?
It's a love song. It's been one of my favorites for a long time. When I was a little girl and dreaming about a prince who would come riding on a white horse, there was always someone playing that song somewhere in the background.
And did the prince ever come?
Yes, he did.
Oh, I see.
But he didn't come on a white horse. There wasn't any music, except in my heart. He came limping up a mountain and walked straight into my dreams and said his name was Chippy.
Kathy. Oh, Kathy, my dear, I don't quite know what to say, confound it.
What do you want to say?
Well, what I want to say seems altogether too prosaic and old-fashioned. It's just... Catherine, my dear, will you do me the honor of becoming my wife?
Oh, darling, I've been so frightened.
Oh, I'm sorry. Of course, I've been too impulsive. That's why you've been frightened.
Oh, my darling, I've been frightened to death. You wouldn't ask me. Mr. Chips, look. There's the first star. Let's wish on it.
Oh. What did you wish?
That we'd always be as happy as we are this moment. What did you wish?
That you'd never leave me. She stood beside me in her mother's wedding dress, wearing a veil that 5 Irish grandmothers had worn before her. And then those words that I was to be proud about forever.
I, Catherine, take thee, Robert, to my wedded husband, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer.
Before we go on to the next scene, here is Del Sharbutt.
It's the radiance of your teeth that puts sunshine in your smile, right? Then use Colgate tooth powder for a smile that dazzles. This remarkable tooth powder quickly removes dull, dingy surface film, permits your teeth to shine in all their natural brilliance, lets their own true luster glisten through your smile. And oh, how fresh, sweet, and wholesome your breath is after every brushing with Colgate tooth powder. Scientific tests prove that Colgate tooth powder stops oral unpleasing breath, stops it instantly in 7 cases out of 10. Believe me, there's a powerful attraction in a breath that's sweet and a smile that dazzles. So brush your teeth night and morning and before every date with Colgate tooth powder, and be ready for romance with a breath that's sweet and a smile that dazzles. Get Colgate tooth powder tonight, won't you? Remember the name, Colgate Tooth Powder.
And now the second act of Goodbye, Mr. Chips. Old Mr. Chips lies quietly on his bed under the anxious eyes of his doctor, and his mind and his heart have raced back almost half a century to the days of his great love.
Oh, Mr. Chips, isn't it a lovely party? I'm going to love it here at Brookfield.
Good evening, Chipping. I'd like the pleasure of meeting Mrs. Chipping.
Oh, good evening, sir. This is Mr. Weatherby, dear, the headmaster of Brookfield.
How do you do, Mr. Weatherby?
Mrs. Chipping, welcome to Brookfield. We're happy to have you with us, and very glad indeed to see you both so happy.
Thank you, Mr. Weatherby. How long have you known my husband?
Oh, roughly 20 years or so, I'd say.
Aren't you lucky? You know, every once in a while I think, even if God is very good and gives us 70 years, that won't be nearly enough. When I've known him 70 years, you'll have known him 90. Think of it.
Oh, and you'll be saying, just think, today Weatherby's known you 90 years, my dear. He was a fine old chap, wasn't he?
This all verges a little on the depressing. I shall be 118 years old myself.
And very handsome for your age, too.
Well, there's the music again. Will you do me the honor of this dance, Mrs. Chipping?
With pleasure, Mr. Weatherby.
Oh, my darling, how beautiful you were. How beautiful. The days that followed were my golden days, for they began with your smile and ended with your kiss. Too short those days and fleeting. I see you walking beside me through the gray historic halls of Brookfield. I see you sitting before your dressing table, brushing your hair and eyeing me gravely in the mirror.
Chips, dear, don't be hard on the boys. After all, they didn't do anything so serious. Someday you'll be head of the school yourself, you know. And you must be very understanding.
I? Head of the school?
Yes. Won't it be wonderful?
How much you knew of boys, Kathy. You who had no son but dreamed of one constantly. And one day cradled that dream in your arms.
Chips, darling, I've something to tell you. We're going to have a baby. Oh, isn't that wonderful? Oh, my darling, isn't that wonderful?
Kathy, it's so wonderful, it's unbelievable. How do you feel? Are you all right, darling? Here, sit down. Let me get you a pillow.
Silly, that won't be necessary for a long time yet. Oh, Mr. Chips, if you knew how I've prayed for this. You know, coming home from the doctor, I kept wanting to run up to people that I'd never seen before and say, I'm going to have a baby. I'm going to have a baby. Oh, Mr. Chips, he'll have your hair and your eyes and your laugh and fat, rosy cheeks. He'll be the most beautiful baby there ever was.
And he'll be very bright, too, won't he?
Oh, yes, the brightest boy in the school.
Yes, and he'll make the team, and we'll go and sit in the stands and wave flags and cheer him home for the school.
And he'll marry the prettiest girl in England, and then he'll have a son, and we'll be grandparents. Oh, Chips, was there ever anything in the world so wonderful as having a baby?
No, my dear, not one. Not one.
Mr. Chips, I love you very much.
Kathy, Kathy, my dear,
I know, my dear. I know.
It seemed that we had everything in the world, you and I. I was full of plans. At first you shared them with me. And then, gradually, you seemed to draw away from them. You smiled and said the right things, but your eyes didn't believe them. And my heart grew cold with the fear that prowled restlessly inside me and would not be stilled. And then, one day...
Mr. Chipping, you're wanted right away at home. I'll take a mathematics class for you. Hurry, man, hurry.
I don't understand, Doctor. I don't understand.
Mr. Chipping, try to listen, please. We've done everything we can.
Do you mean she's going to... Oh, no. No, you can't mean that. She's my whole world. She's my whole life. If I lose her, I want to die.
Take hold of yourself, man. Remember that life and death must come to everyone.
What good are words to me? There must be something that you can do, Doctor. There must be something.
I wish there were. Her child was born dead. She should not have tried to have this baby. I warned her.
She wanted a son so much. Oh, Doctor, what'll I do? What can I do?
You can come in with me now and sit with her until the end. And try not to let her see what you are feeling. She has only a short time. Try not to make her unhappy.
I'll try.
Come in, then.
Kathy? My darling?
Hello, Mr. Chips. You look tired. Sit down here by the bed where I can smooth your hair. It's standing all on end. Did you have a hard day?
Yes, Yes, it was a bit difficult.
I told them not to call you until the last moment. I didn't want you worrying when there was nothing you could do. I'm very tired, Mr. Chips.
I know, darling. You must rest.
No, I don't want to rest. I've plenty of time for resting. You see, I know. No one is needed to tell me. I've seen it in their eyes and in yours.
Kathy,
I'm glad I know. Because otherwise it might not occur to me to say thank you. Thank you for so many lovely things, Mr. Chips. I'm sorry about your son. You wanted a son.
I want you, and only you. Kathy, what'll I do with my life without you?
Be grateful for what we've had, Mr. Chips. Don't spoil that by weeping for the things we cannot have. You must live a good life and a full one. You must be headmaster. And a splendid one you'll be, too. But don't be too hard on the boys. They're such little fellows, after all.
I love you. I've never loved anyone else. I never shall.
I know. And you've made me so very happy. Goodbye, Mr. Chips. Goodbye, Mr. Chips.
Oh, Kathy. Kathy. Kathy, don't leave me. Oh, Kathy, don't leave me. Don't leave me, Kathy. I walked out into the sunlight, dazed, shocked into complete numbness. People passed me on the street and spoke, and it seemed horrible that the day could go on and people could go on as though she was still part of the world. Young Faulkner came up to me on the street.
Please, sir, may I have the afternoon off? My people are coming up.
Huh? What's that? Oh, yes.
Can I miss chapel too, sir?
Yes.
And may I go to the station to meet them?
I nodded and stumbled on. I took my fourth form as usual, setting them to learning grammar by heart, and I sat there staring at them, wanting to shout, "She's dead! What do I care for verbs and adjectives when she's dead?" Finally, the class was over, and as they filed out, someone stopped by the desk.
Please, sir, there are a lot of letters for you.
I looked down, and so there were. I tore them open one by one, but each one contained only a blank sheet of paper, and then I realized it was April 1st, and this was a piece of April foolery. And I began to laugh at the top of my lungs. I stood there laughing until I was completely worn out. I fell asleep, with my arms on my desk, and the pain dimmed and flickered and went out. And there was nothing but silence and darkness. Once, several years after she'd left me, someone spoke her name. A boy who came back for a visit.
How is Mrs. Chipping, sir? I remember her very well. She had me in for tea one day.
Is that so? You do remember her?
You don't forget people like her.
No, I suppose not. There's no one here now who ever knew her. The boys come and go, and even masters don't stay forever. She died, less than a year after you left in 98.
I'm sorry to hear that, sir. She was a wonderful woman. She gave me one of the best afternoons I can remember. I wish it were then and not now. I'm off to France tomorrow.
Oh. Well, Godspeed. God bring you safely home. A month later, I heard that he'd been killed at Passchendaele, and then there was no one who remembered. But I remembered. Through the years that kept step with me, I remembered. When I became headmaster, she was there beside me. When there was a boy to be reprimanded, I saw her face looking back at me from a mirror, pleading for him. And when I saw young people hand in hand with a light on their faces, I saw her smiling at me, and my heart grew warm for an instant. I loved her very much.
Poor old chap. Must have lived a lonely sort of life all by himself.
Not always by himself. He married, you know.
Really? I didn't know that.
She died. It must have been, quite 30 years ago. More, possibly.
Pity he never had any children.
What's that? Did I hear one of you saying it was a pity I never had any children? But I have, you know. I have. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them. And all boys.
Close your eyes, Chips. Try to rest.
What's that?
Close your eyes, Chips. Try to rest.
Kathy, what are you doing here?
You're tired. I've come to sit beside you.
Good night, Chips. Good night, and goodbye, Mr. Chips.
What was that, Kathy? What was that he was saying?
He was saying, goodbye, Mr. Chips.
Oh, he was, eh? But you won't say it, will you? You won't say it.
No, Mr. Chips. I won't say it ever again.
The curtain has gone down on Goodbye, Mr. Chips. And in just a moment, Arnold Moss will tell you about next week's play. But first, I'd like to ask you if you're the type of person that can face the world with a smile. Well, maybe you are. But don't leave that to chance. Use Colgate tooth powder every day and before every date. For Colgate tooth powder not only removes dull surface film from your teeth, bringing out all the natural sparkling brilliance of your smile, but at the same time it assures you of a breath that's invitingly sweet and fresh. Now, that's not just my say-so. Scientific tests have definitely proved that Colgate tooth powder stops oral unpleasing breath, stops it instantly in 7 cases out of 10. So don't take a chance with romance. Simply brush your teeth night and morning and before every date with Colgate tooth powder for a breath that's sweet and a smile that dazzles. That's it, Colgate tooth powder. And now, Arnold Moss.
Our play next week is a comedy of all comedies. My Man Godfrey by Eric Hatch, the rib-tickling story of a beautiful, if slightly wacky, society girl who discovered that sometimes a forgotten man is the kind that's hardest to forget. Until next Tuesday, then, when Colgate Tooth Powder presents My Man Godfrey on the Colgate Theater of Romance, this is your host, Arnold Moss, saying good night and wishing you love, happiness, and romance.
In tonight's play, Kathy was played by Gertrude Warner, and the lovable Mr. Chips was played by Carl Swinson. The radio adaptation was written by Gene Holloway, the music conducted by Ben Ludlow, and the production was directed by Mark Slobe.
What is the 14-day Palmolive plan?
Yes, what is the 14-day Palmolive plan?
It's the biggest beauty news in years. Doctors tested this plan, proved it brought lovelier complexions to 2 out of 3 of all the women tested. Here it is.
Wash your face with Palmolive soap. Then massage for a full 60 seconds with Palmolive's lovely soft lather. Then rinse. Do this 3 times a day.
Easy to do, yet 36 doctors prove this Palmolive plan brings a lovelier complexion to 2 out of 3 women. No matter what type of skin you have, dry or oily, the 14-day Palmolive plan works. So get Palmolive. See what Palmolive can do for your skin in only 14 days. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Colgate Tooth Powder's Theater of Romance presents My Man Godfrey. Yes, tonight and every Tuesday night, Colgate Tooth Powder brings you the Theater of Romance. featuring each week your favorite stories and plays especially adapted for radio. And here is your host of the evening, Arnold Moss, to tell you about this evening's presentation, My Man Godfrey.
Good evening. Godfrey was the last of the perfect butlers. He was elegant, he was tall, slim, and handsome, not quite young, definitely not old, the very substance of aloof charm and gentility. There never was a butler quite like him before, and in all probability there never will be again. Surprisingly enough, the Bullocks, for whom Godfrey worked, found this wonderful creature in the city dump. There was a scavenger hunt in progress. You remember those pre-war scavenger hunts? Someone made up a list of things that nobody wanted, and then everyone went out and tried to find them. Well, on the list that particular night, someone had the hilariously funny idea of having everyone find a forgotten man. Now, Godfrey fitted that description precisely, a forgotten man. Irene Bullock found him sitting in the city dump near the harbor, staring into a small fire.
Hello. Hope you don't mind if I share your fire, but it's cold out. Gee, this fire smells terrible, doesn't it?
You can choose your fires. I can't.
Well, if you're going to be here tomorrow, I'll bring you over some kindling and logs and things.
Go on. You're kidding.
No, I'm not. You've got to have a better fire than this.
What's a girl like you doing out here? What do you want?
Well, I'll tell you. I'm on a scavenger hunt. I'm looking for a forgotten man. You looked sort of forgotten sitting there, and I thought you might be willing to help out. You see, I've never won anything, and I'd like to just once.
Did you have everything else you needed to win?
Yes, everything but the forgotten man.
Well, then, you've got yourself a forgotten man.
Oh, golly, thanks. Come on, let's get going before you change your mind. I guess we win, Mother. This is Godfrey. This is my mother, Godfrey, and my sister, Cornelia.
Oh, how do you do, Godfrey? So nice of you to come.
I was glad to help out, Mrs. Bullock. Well, now, Miss Irene, you don't need me anymore, so I'll just say goodbye.
Oh, no, wait. You did something for us. We've got to do something for you. What do you need most?
Well, I could use a job, but I don't suppose you have any of those in your pocket, do you?
Matter of fact, we're looking for a butler. Ours left today. Could you be a butler?
Oh, don't be absurd, Irene. We know nothing about this man.
We know all about the last one, Mother, and he got away with most of the silver.
You surely wouldn't take a tramp like that into the house. Look at him. Why, he's perfectly disgusting.
Cornelia, you're an awful stinker. Mother, he'd be a swell butler. I know he would.
Maybe, but it's so hard to tell in those awful clothes he's wearing.
Well, it wouldn't do any harm just to try him, would it, Mother?
Well, if you insist, Irene, advance him some money to get some decent clothes and put him to work at the house tomorrow morning.
Thank you, Mrs. Bullock. I trust I shall be adequate.
And while Godfrey's getting a butler's outfit together, let's listen to Del Sharbutt for a moment.
Don't let your smile be a secret weapon. Let it be open, radiant, really bewitching. Let it be a smile that dazzles. A Colgate tooth powder smile. Yes, brush your teeth with Colgate tooth powder for a smile that dazzles. It's thrilling the way Colgate tooth powder removes dull, dingy surface film, leaving your teeth excitingly clean, revealing all their natural brilliance. And every time you brush your teeth with Colgate tooth powder, it leaves your breath fresh, sweet, and wholesome. You can depend on that, because scientific tests prove that Colgate tooth powder stops unpleasing breath that originates in the mouth, stops it instantly in 7 cases out of 10. Well, how nice to know that every time you use Colgate tooth powder, it brings you a breath that's sweet and a smile that dazzles. What a wonderful setting for romance. Enjoy it tonight, won't you? Get Colgate tooth powder. Remember the name, Colgate tooth powder.
Now back to the Bullock Mansion, where Godfrey is starting his first morning by taking the breakfast trays around.
Good morning, Mrs. Bullock.
Is it morning? Oh, well, good morning.
Good morning, madam. I trust you slept well?
Oh, my, but you're a beautiful butler. Where have you worked before?
If you will permit me to put you on breakfast tray here, Mrs. Bullock.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Why, I work for Mrs. G. Hopkinson Parks. She's a Mrs. John Bogart now.
Did she give you a reference, Godfrey?
No, there was trouble between us, so I left without it. Will that be all, madam?
Oh, yes, thank you, Godfrey. Oh, and by the way, I think you're very handsome. You must tell me more about yourself.
Good morning, Miss Cornelia. It's a fine morning. I'll draw your shades.
Oh, what do you mean, barging in here like this before I'm awake?
I brought you your breakfast.
Oof, I couldn't touch it. I feel awful. Just awful. Must have been the champagne. Don't think you're going to have an easy time with me, Godfrey. I'll run you ragged. I'll make you sorry you ever dreamed of coming here to work.
Your poached egg, miss.
Oh, take it away.
Just as you say. But let me tell you something, Miss Cornelia. You can't do anything to me. Nobody can do anything to me. When a guy's completely down and out, nobody can hurt him.
I hurt you. Last night.
No. It was only what you stood for that hurt me. I hurt myself. If that will be all, Miss Cornelia, I have to get on with Miss Irene's breakfast.
Good morning, Godfrey. It's a beautiful morning, isn't it?
Indeed it is, Miss Irene. Oh, I've brought your breakfast.
Good, I'm starved. My, you look wonderful. We were lucky to get you. It just goes to show, doesn't it, that you never can tell who's hiding behind a straggly beard.
Will there be anything else, Miss Irene?
Yes. Sit down and talk to me while I have breakfast.
But I can't. I'm the butler.
Well, I suppose it would be different if you were a regular butler, but you're not. You're a man in disguise as a regular butler, which makes you a romantic character. And as a romantic character, it's part of your duties to have breakfast with me. Now sit down at the foot of the bed.
Well...
There. You look very nice there. You must come often, Godfrey. It's not going to be fun butling for this family, but it's a roof over your head and food to eat and decent fires until you straighten out whatever's wrong inside of you.
What makes you think something is wrong inside me?
Oh, I just know it, that's all. It's an instinct, I guess. Like my knowing I'm in love with you.
Oh, now, see here. You aren't awake yet. Don't go jumping to any hasty ideas at 10 in the morning.
Oh, but I'm wide awake. As a matter of fact, I haven't been asleep at all. I've been lying here all night thinking about you. You see, I fell in love with you last night. Beard, ragged clothes, city dump and all. Well, I'm sorry if it annoys you, but I can't help it.
Well, I'm afraid I must get back to the kitchen. Will that be all, miss?
Yes, Godfrey, that will be all. For now.
Will you have another cup of coffee, Mr. Bullock?
No, thank you, Godfrey. Oh, good heavens.
Something wrong, sir?
No, Godfrey. I'll be all right in a moment. It was just something I read there in the paper.
I always recommend a good strong shot of water after reading something disagreeable in the paper, sir.
Godfrey, I am in a mess. I didn't mean to get into it, but I did, and, well, now I don't know how to get out of it. But they're not going to get me. They're not going to get me.
The papers are full of rumors of a scandal in the Hanoverian Bank and Trust Company. That is your bank, isn't it, sir?
Yes, that is my bank, slowly being forced to the wall. Bad investments. Nothing crooked, you understand?
Oh, I understand perfectly, sir.
Now, I don't want this to get around, Godfrey. Around me. Let me give you a little something as a slight gesture of appreciation.
That isn't necessary, Mr. Bullock. I'm your butler. You're already paying me very well for loyalty.
Thank you, Godfrey. I can already see you're a better man than most I've met in my lifetime.
Thank you, sir. And now, if you'll excuse me, I have some silver to polish.
Hello, Godfrey. What are you doing?
Polishing the silver. Isn't that rather obvious, Miss Irene?
Let me help.
That isn't necessary.
Oh, but I'd like to. Really, I would. I could pretend it's our silver. Yours and mine, Godfrey. And that we're getting it ready for a party we're giving. Godfrey, have you ever been in love?
Now and then.
Well, you seem very aloof and unapproachable on the whole subject, I must say.
That's because I'm a butler and you're the lady of the house. If you were the parlor maid, then that would be a different story.
What would happen if I were the parlor maid? Godfrey?
Oh, probably kiss you in the pantry and take you to the movies on Thursday nights and Saturday afternoons and hold your hand in the back row.
Well, as long as we're in the pantry, couldn't you sort of pretend I was the parlor maid?
I'm afraid I am a thoroughly realistic butler.
You don't believe that I'm in love with you, do you? Or is it that you don't care? You don't care that I'm unhappy all the time and that I cry when you walk in and out of rooms and don't look at me.
Certainly I care. I want to go right out and buy you a teddy bear and a lollipop.
Oh, Godfrey!
Hello, Godfrey. Cleaning the silver, I see.
Is there something I can do for you, Miss Cornelia?
No, thank you, Godfrey. I was just kind of lonely upstairs, so I thought I'd come down and talk to you for a while.
I'm very busy.
I won't interfere with your work. You don't like me, do you, Godfrey?
Not particularly.
That's regrettable, because I like you very much. You're very handsome, Godfrey.
Yeah, I'm smart, too. Don't forget that. You're not going to take me in, you know.
Take you in? Why, whatever do you mean?
Miss Cornelia, I knew a very beautiful woman once. Spitting image of you, as a matter of fact. And believe it or not, she once said almost the same thing to me that you just said. That's why it's no good gazing up at me with those big blue eyes. I've been vaccinated, sister.
In what way?
The hard way. I married the lady.
Married? You didn't tell us you were married, Godfrey.
You never asked. And if you had, I would have told you it was none of your business. I'm not married now. You see, the lady wanted another man. Her kind always does, sooner or later.
This whole conversation isn't flattering to me.
No, it isn't, is it?
I'll make you eat those words before I'm through with you.
I wouldn't bother trying. There's so many more susceptible men in the world. And now, please excuse me. I must put the silver away.
Oh, Godfrey.
Hello, Godfrey. I came home early from the party just to see you. You know what? I went around all evening carrying a torch, and everybody that saw me said, "Look at Irene Bullock carrying the torch for Godfrey." What do you think of that?
I think you'd better go to bed.
I don't want to go to bed. I want to sit here all night looking at you. Gee, I got it bad, haven't I?
Yeah, come on, take my arm. I'll help you upstairs.
All right, Godfrey. Oh,
thunderation. Did you know she'd pass out? Well, I'll have to carry her upstairs. Now then, Miss Bullock, right into the shower for you, clothes and all.
Hey, that's cold water.
Why, you little faker, you let me lug you up those stairs thinking you passed out.
It was the only way I could get you to do it.
You didn't pass out at all.
I haven't even had a drink.
Oh, Irene, why do you do these things? What gets into you?
Oh, Godfrey, you're so naive. Godfrey, what do I have to do to make you kiss me?
If you'll excuse me, Miss Irene,
No, I won't. I won't excuse you. And if you won't kiss me, I'm going to stand right here and cry all night. And then I'll get sick, and I'll go to the hospital and die, and you'll never see me again.
Irene, people do not die because they don't get kissed. Now, please, let's be logical about it.
When was there ever anything logical about love? Oh, Godfrey, don't you think you could ever love me even a little? Godfrey, maybe it's a lot of fun for you to walk all over me. Maybe you get a kick out of it, but it isn't much fun for me.
Oh, Irene, don't you understand? I'm all wrong for you. You should have someone young, the way you're young, full of eagerness and gaiety and fun. I'm none of those things. I'm a guy who stuck his fingers in the fire once and got burned.
All right, Godfrey. All right. We'll say no more about it. But would you kiss me just this once? I'll never ask you to again. I promise.
All right, my dear.
That was a beautiful kiss, Godfrey. It got away from you a little, though, didn't it?
You little witch. What is it, Mrs. Bullock? What's wrong?
My pearls are gone. Godfrey, someone's stolen my pearls. Oh, Godfrey.
Now, control yourself, madam, please. Please. They're insured, aren't they?
they are. I never thought of that. I just got so upset when I saw the bedroom window was broken. I'd left the pearls on the dresser because I was going to wear them this evening.
Yes, well, if you'll excuse me, madam, I'll call Mr. Bullock at once so he can notify the insurance firm.
Godfrey, did you steal Mother's pearls?
Of course not.
Well, I thought you might have. You seem to have a lot of money lately. And I've been sitting in the living room listening to those horrible insurance men asking all sorts of questions about you. They think you did it.
Well, I didn't.
Of course, it's perfectly all right with me if you did, you know. I'll stand by you. I'll wait at the prison gates.
Irene, in heaven's name, will you get this through your head? I did not steal the pearls.
Oh, Godfrey, shout at me some more. I've never seen you so furious before. You're so wonderful, Godfrey. You could steal all the pearl necklaces in the world, and it wouldn't matter to me.
I did not. Yes, Miss Irene. Thank you, Miss Irene. And now, if you'll excuse me, your father wants a brandy and soda.
Is that a brandy and soda in your hand, Godfrey? How did you know that was what I wanted?
I thought it was what you needed, sir, with all your trouble and everything.
What do you mean, my trouble?
Well, sir, with conditions as they are at the bank, it seems to me a great many people might suspect you had, shall we say, hypothecated the necklace yourself. Of course, that would be a silly thing to do, but you know how people are.
Yes, I should say that would be a silly thing to do.
Yes. You know, sir, if I had, shall we say, hypothecated the pearls under those circumstances, I think I'd return them pretty darn quickly, sir.
Godfrey, who the devil are you?
Your butler, sir?
You're not a Department of Justice man, are you?
Oh, no, I'm exactly what I claimed to be in the beginning, a forgotten man. And I guess in my own way, I'm trying to keep you from becoming one, too.
The pearls will be put back, Godfrey. And thank you.
Oh, and since you're in need of money, sir, I think I can loan you enough to help you out at present.
Will you do that for us?
Yes. You don't seem surprised to hear me say I can.
I might as well admit it. I know who you are, Godfrey. I've known ever since the insurance men were here. They naturally had to look up everyone in the house. I didn't say anything to you because it was your secret, and I respected it as such. It does give you a funny feeling, though, to have one of the richest men in the country working for you as a butler. Why are you doing it, Godfrey?
Well, Mr. Bullock, when my wife walked out with another man, I lost interest in living, even in dying. I just felt numb, and I wanted to lose myself and my identity so no one would pay any attention to me at all. And then Irene came along, and, well, I felt differently about everything.
I suppose you'll be leaving us, now that we know your secret.
Oh, yes. For one thing, you can't afford a butler anymore, and I can't afford to be one. I'm going back to live my life again, and this time I'm going to make it a good life. And now, if you'll excuse me, sir, there's something I have to talk to Irene about. Irene, I've been hunting all over for you. What are you doing sitting out here in the park? Everyone was looking for you at dinner.
I just came out here to sit a while.
You didn't come into the pantry all day.
I've outgrown that stuff.
Mm-hmm. I missed you. I had something to tell you, and I particularly wanted to tell you in the pantry.
We'll say goodbye in the living room, Godfrey. It's the place to say goodbye to Mr. G. Hopkinson Park of Wall Street and Fifth Avenue.
Irene, look at me.
You really must excuse me. I'm sure Mother wants me.
Irene, you said you loved me, remember?
No, I didn't. I told Godfrey I loved him, but you aren't Godfrey.
I don't know what you mean.
I think you do. Godfrey was a forgotten man. He was mine. I found him at the city dumps. He had nothing, no money, no clothes, no food. And I had all those things. But I was forgotten, too, because I had no one to love me in the way I wanted to be loved. We balanced each other, Godfrey and I. We made a lovely couple. I'll miss him very much. Good night, Mr. Paul.
Irene, don't. Don't you walk out on me, too. Another woman did that once and almost destroyed me. I thought that was the end of love for me, but you found me where she left me and took me in. You gave me back courage and ideals and faith in people. Irene, I love you. I want to marry you.
I don't want your lousy money. I don't care 2 cents for your lousy money.
All right, we won't touch it then. We'll hire out as a couple. I'll be the butler and you can be the upstairs maid.
You do that for me?
I'd do anything for you. I'll live any way you want to live. You see, it doesn't matter who we are or where we live, as long as it's together. As long as it's you who's making the breakfast coffee and holding out your arms to me at night.
Oh, Godfrey, I can't believe you really love me. I'm afraid it will take you all the rest of your life to convince me.
The prospect enchants me.
Well, then, let's go home and tell the family. I can't wait to go up to Cornelia and say, Cornelia, have you met my man, Godfrey? Come on, darling.
Just a moment. As long as I'm still a butler, would you mind if I pretended you were the parlor maid? Just for a moment.
Oh, Godfrey.
The curtain has gone down on My Man Godfrey, and in just a moment Arnold Moss will tell you about next week's play. But first, when you're close, very close to someone you love, be sure you've a breath that's sweet and a smile that dazzles. That's what you can expect when you use Colgate tooth powder, because Colgate tooth powder removes the dull surface film from your teeth, revealing all the natural brilliance of your smile. And at the same time, it assures you of a breath that's sweet and inviting. Yes, those are facts. For scientific tests have definitely proved that Colgate tooth powder stops unpleasing breath that originates in the mouth, stops it instantly in 7 cases out of 10. So simply brush your teeth night and morning and before every date with Colgate tooth powder for a breath that's sweet and a smile that dazzles. That's it, Colgate tooth powder. And now, Arnold Moss.
Our play next week is the famous comedy drama of the girls who live and hope and dream of seeing their names in the lights of Broadway. Stage Door by George S. Kaufman and Edna Further. Until next Tuesday, then, when Colgate Tooth Powder's Theater of Romance will present Stage Door. This is your host, Arnold Moss, saying good night and wishing you love, happiness, and romance.
In tonight's play, Godfrey was played by Peter Donald and Irene by Peggy Conklin. The radio adaptation was written by Gene Holloway, the music composed and conducted by Ben Ludlow, and the production was directed by Mark Slobe.
What is the 14-day Palmolive plan?
Yes, what is the 14-day Palmolive plan?
It's the biggest beauty news in years. Doctors tested this plan, proved it brought lovelier complexions to 2 out of 3 of all the women tested. Here it is.
Wash your face with Palmolive soap. Then massage for a full 60 seconds with Palmolive's lovely soft lather. Then rinse. Do this 3 times a day.
Easy to do, yet 36 doctors proved this Palmolive plan brings a lovelier complexion to 2 out of 3 women. No matter what type of skin you have, dry or oily, the 14-day Palmolive plan works. So get Palmolive. See what Palmolive can do for your skin in only 14 days. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Columbia brings you Romance. Tonight, one of the most moving of all love stories of our times, Seventh Heaven. And here is Frank Gallup to set the stage for tonight's tale of romance.
Good evening. This is Frank Gallup, your host for the evening, to guide you through the pages of the great dramatic love stories of all time. Tonight I bring you Lamont Johnson as that very remarkable fellow Chico, and Joy Geffen as the lovely dreamer Deanne in Seventh Heaven, adapted by Gene Holloway from Austin Strong's stage play of Love in the Garrets of Paris. It has been said that heaven is the place where the heart finds true happiness. There are no guideposts to help you find heaven on earth. You just suddenly come around a corner, or up a flight of stairs, or down a cellar, and there it is, heaven. For Chico and Deanne, heaven was 7 stories up, hence the title, Seventh Heaven. Chico was a sewer worker who wanted to be a street cleaner, and Deanne was a very young and very lovely girl who was being victimized by her elder sister, Nana, who was trying to bully her into a life she didn't want to lead. But one day, Nana was whipping Deanne in the street as Chico and a friend passed by.
Take that! And that! I'll learn you to disobey me, you young whelp. Please, Nana, please. Disobey me, will you little brat?
Well, look at that. She's killing the little one, Chico.
There, you hellcat, you.
Oh, put me down. Put me down, you monster. Put me down before I eat you. Eyes out.
I'll put you down. I'll put you right down under that manhole cover. You can do your screaming in the sewer for a while, my fine lady.
Don't you dare, you filthy swine. Don't you dare.
She'll cool off down there.
Will she be able to find a way out?
She'll meet someone that'll help her. There's plenty of men working up a ways. Well, now, let's see to the small one here.
Yes. Open the door of my taxi cab. She's unconscious. We can put her on the seat.
Oh, gently now. Gently. She's bleeding. That whip went deep in her arm.
Yes, you saved her life, Chico.
I don't know why.
She
has a nice smile, eh, Boo?
Yes.
Who are you?
I'm Chico. And this is my friend, Boo.
Hello, Chico. Hello, Boo.
How do you do?
I was dreaming about you. I was dreaming I was in heaven. And I kept hearing the name Chico and the name Boo. And I kept wondering, why should they be in heaven with me? These two that I don't even know.
She's out of her head.
Oh, no. She just heard us talking while she was unconscious.
What do you do, Chico? What's your profession?
Me? Why, I'm a sewer man, an atheist, and a very remarkable fellow. Why are you smiling at me like that?
No reason, except I've been looking a long time for a very remarkable fellow.
Don't look at me. I'm not for any woman. I have no time for women.
Oh, that's very disappointing.
Oh, look, down the street. There comes Maximilian Gobin, the street washer.
Let's ask him to join us for supper,
huh? No. We'll just get snubbed for our pains. The street washers are above the social strata of the sewers.
Oh, but try, Chico. Isn't he splendid looking?
I will try. Good evening, citizen street washer. Will you do us the honor of dining with us?
Dine with you? The likes of you? No.
Old snob.
You're right, Boo.
Hoes present a higher social position than the sewer.
Social position? How do you like that? I tell you that's why I'm an atheist. Why should that stupid fellow have the hose while I'm kept down among the drain pipes? Me, who I know to be a very remarkable fellow.
Why are you an atheist, Chico?
Well, just looking at you is enough to make me one. Were you put here just to live in the gutter, to be beaten and strangled?
I don't know. I never thought about that.
Well, I know there is a God. I've proved it 100 ways.
Name one.
Well, there must be a bon Dieu. Otherwise, where do all the good things come from? The wine, the cheese, the onion, the blue skies and the yellow fields, and my taxi. And my wife.
Wait a minute. Do you think the bon Dieu made me?
Of course.
And you?
Naturally.
And that street washer, Maximilian Gobin?
Well, everybody makes mistakes sometimes. You know, the trouble with you is you're ignorant. You know nothing of the beauty and the consolation of religion.
Fool, I've been through that. I was religious once. I prayed so long and so loud, the bon Dieu must have heard me. I gave him a fair test 3 times. First, I prayed for the hose, to be a street washer. I went to the finest church in Paris, the Cathedral of Notre Dame, and I bought the largest candle in the place for 5 francs.
5 francs?
That's a lot of money.
But I didn't get it. So I said, perhaps the bon Dieu, if there is any, meant for me to be a sewer man. You see, I am a philosopher. I can take a certain amount of disappointment. Then I wanted something else. So again, I lit a candle. 5 francs more.
What was that for?
A wife, with yellow hair.
A wife.
Nothing happened. So then I said, Monsieur le Bon Dieu, I'm going to give you one more chance. So for this last time, I prayed for an experience.
An experience?
You probably won't understand, but I wanted the experience of feeling like a fine gentleman. I wanted to be able to climb into a taxicab and say, fellow, make the grand tour. Drive me first to the Champs-Élysées, and then to the Maison Rouge, and then to the Arc de Triomphe. And then home to 48 Rue Notre-Dame de Lorette, and perdition take the expense.
15 francs you laid out?
Yes. The Bon Dieu owes me 15 francs, and that's why I'm an atheist.
See the Padre coming down the street there? Don't let him hear you say that.
Well, hello, Chico. Hello, Boo. You have a friend, I see. What's your name, young woman?
Diane.
Diane. That's a pretty name. Is there anything I can do for you tonight, Chico?
Nothing, Father. You know I'm an atheist.
I don't expect you to be one forever.
You know why he feels that way, Father? He prayed for 3 things and didn't get them.
Really? What were they?
Well, he wanted to ride in a taxi cab with a yellow-haired wife and money enough to pay for it. The money to be earned from the hose. He wants to be a street washer.
Do you, Chico? Why, then I can help you. They're looking for a man. Here, you take this card to the commissioner, and the hose is yours. Now, I'm going to ask you to keep these 2 medals of St. John and St. Agnes I'm going to give you. The Bon Dieu has a sense of humor, Chico, and the joke is on you. Good night to you, and good luck.
Did you hear? Did you hear? I'm a street washer. I've risen in the world. And look at these medals. They're real silver. Boo. Look. The price mark. It says 15 francs.
Well, I must say good night. I congratulate you, monsieur. Good night.
But wait a minute. Where are you going?
That's my affair.
What is that you're trying to hide? A knife, huh? Give it to me.
It's my knife. It's not your concern.
Give me that.
If you take it away from me, I'll jump in the river.
Go ahead. Drown yourself if it pleases you. Women like you make me sick. Where's your fight? Hold on, Deanne. There'll be something good for you. I, who am a newly risen man, tell you.
Take your hands off me. Let me go. I want to go to the river.
All right, I'm not keeping you. There's the boulevard to the river. It's broad enough. The devil take you. Wait, Deanne, why do you want to die?
What have I to live for?
Is there nothing you want?
Yes. But what I want is beyond me. You wanted to be a street washer. That's easy. What I want is heaven.
You want to be a street washer, too?
No. I want a room and a stove and some curtains. And I want someone to cook for and take care of. Someone who will smile at me and warm my heart. Someone strong and handsome and kind. A very remarkable fellow.
I think you will find him. Deanne, you've got to be brave. You've got to fight life and lick it. Now then, will you swear to me that you will not try to kill yourself?
I swear it. Oh, look, it's the police, and they have Nana.
Here's that girl, Diane. You will come with us.
Doc, you can't arrest her.
Oh, it's you, Chico. Why not?
Because she is my wife.
Well, why didn't you say so at once? Come on. We've lost enough time. Let's get moving.
She's not his wife, you fools. She's not his wife. She's my sister. I'd know, wouldn't I?
Oh, is that so? Where do you live now, Diane?
48 Rue Notre-Dame de Lorette.
Well, tomorrow we'll come to your house to see if you speak the truth. Come along now.
Oh, you won't get away with this. I'll get even. You won't get away with this.
Well, let's get moving.
Now, why did I say that? It was a silly thing to say.
Don't worry. I'll go away.
Oh, but you can't. They'll look up the books and find no records. And then they'll come to my address and find I have no wife. Oh, I'm ruined. I'll lose the hose. Why couldn't I keep my mouth shut?
Maybe you could let me stay with you until the police come.
Huh?
To prove to them that you had a wife. And then I'd go away and never trouble you again.
But how can we explain about our marriage not being on the records?
Well, we can say we were married in Italy or Belgium.
Deanne, that's it. That's it exactly. You have a great head. A very great head.
You have a very great heart.
And I also have a great idea. Bull! Bull!
Don't shout. I'm right here.
Wind up that stuttering taxicab of yours. Wind up that sewing machine, that ill-tempered piece of tin. Wind it up.
Why?
Why? Well, look what I have on my arm. A yellow-haired bride. And in my pocket is the card that says I am now a street washer. And now I wish to take a grand wedding tour. First, the Champs-Élysées.
So this is the Champs-Élysées. I've always wanted to drive down it. Look at the stars, Chico. How nice they look from a taxi cab riding down the Champs-Élysées.
There are some other people in the taxi. Bow, Diane, bow. They are of our social strata. They, too, ride in taxis.
Oh, Chico, isn't it exciting? Isn't it fun?
Oh, bow, Diane, bow. This is our night. Anyone who doesn't bow back is very rude. Here we are, the Maison Rouge. Let me help you down, my lady.
Oh, no, monsieur. Permit me, please.
Thank you.
Monsieur et madame. If we go around the back, we can hear the music quite plainly. There's a little park that goes down to the river. It's just a step or two.
Oh, Chico, isn't it beautiful? Look at the river. Isn't it beautiful?
Yes, you are. May I have this dance, madame, my wife?
Indeed you may, monsieur, my husband.
Stop here, Bull. Here by the Arc de Triomphe. There you are, Madame Chico. The Arc de Triomphe. I give it to you for a wedding present.
Oh, Chico.
Oh, wait a minute. Here, what are you crying about?
I don't know.
What kind of a girl are you to go around crying and not know what you're crying about?
I guess I'm crying because it isn't true. I guess I'm crying because I'd like so much for it to be true.
Don't cry. You're so much prettier when you laugh. And when you laugh, I want to laugh. When you cry, it makes me feel like crying, too. Smile for me, Diane. Please? That's better. Diane.
Oh, Chico, that was a lovely kiss. It was a nicer present than even the Arc de Triomphe.
Hey, you two! Where now? It's way past midnight.
The driver would like to know where to now. Why, home, driver. You know where that is, don't you?
You might refresh me, madame?
48 Rue Notre-Dame de Lorette.
48 Rue Notre-Dame de Lorette, the finest street in Paris.
Oh, that street is not in Paris, my friend. That street is in heaven. Good night, Bull. Thank you for a lovely evening.
Thank you, Bull. I'll settle with you on payday.
The debt is already paid. Forget it. Good night.
Good night. Night, and thank you. Good night.
Good night.
And now, it's 7 flights up. You too tired to climb it, do you think?
Too tired? Oh, no. I shall run all the way up.
There it is.
Oh, Chico, it is heaven. I've never seen anything so beautiful.
I'll light the lamps.
Oh, no, please. Look at the way the moonlight lights the room. Oh, Chico, look how close you are to the stars. How happy you must be here.
Funny, I never thought much about being happy here. It's always been a place to come to at night and leave in the morning.
I can't believe I'm here. I must be dreaming. Oh, Chico, how can I ever thank you?
Do you know something, Deanne?
Yes?
This evening I've changed. I, who've always been a remarkable fellow, have become even more remarkable. Because I've discovered something. I've come to believe something.
And what's that?
That there is a God, and that this room is heaven.
Oh, Chico.
Well, I think I'll say good night. I'll sleep out on the roof tonight. You may have the bed.
Oh, I can't take your bed. Let me sleep on the roof or on the floor.
Not a chance. What way would that be to treat an angel?
An angel. That's a funny name for me.
Not so funny as you think. Good night, Deanne.
Good night, Chico. Chico, would you mind? I mean, would it be asking too much to... Could we play the game just long enough to include a goodnight kiss?
Good night, Deanne.
Good night, Chico. All right, I'm coming. Are you the police?
It's Bull.
Oh, good morning, Bull.
Good morning, Madame Chico. Good morning, good morning. How beautiful you are this morning.
Thank you, and so are you.
Oh, really? Thank you. Where's Chico?
He's not here. He was gone when I woke up. I'm cooking him some onion soup.
Not here, huh? Well, that's funny. He told me to meet him here at 10 o'clock sharp. What do you suppose he wants?
I don't know.
Ah. Have you heard from your sister, Nana?
Nana? No, she's in jail, isn't she?
Oh, no. She got out this morning. I met her on the street. She said if you didn't come back, she'd come and get you.
Come and get me. Oh, Bull, what shall I do? I've had such a wonderful 3 days here. I hate to leave and go back. Yet I guess I must. I can't stay here forever. It's taking advantage of Chico's goodness.
Oh, I don't know about
He's
that.
only here for meals. Past 2 nights he slept at Monsieur Charlot's. I can't turn him out of his home forever. I guess I must go back to Nana.
Well, I'll tell you what. Suppose you and I go and burn a candle to St. Antoine. Maybe he will tell us what to do, huh?
There comes Chico.
It's about time, too.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you this morning, my pigeon and my friend?
Chico, put me down.
I've been waiting half an hour for you. What did you want before this?
I wanted you for a very important event. Deanne, take this box and put on what you find in it.
What is it?
Isn't that just like a woman? Questions, always questions. It's a dress, my stupid little cabbage. A new dress.
A dress?
Yes, a wedding dress.
A wedding dress?
It's what I said. A wedding dress. Oh, you don't know what a time I've had. Those fools at the Marriage Bureau refused to believe that I'd ever been born, just because I wasn't on their records. Isn't that stupid? I said, well, of course I was born. How else did I get here?
Those fools at the Bureau.
So, after I'd spent hours arguing with them, they finally gave me the paper that said I was born, and now we're to be married at 11.
Married? Oh, Chico, I can't marry you.
You can't marry me? What do you mean you can't marry me? You've cooked me onion soup and mended my clothes, even kissed me. If that isn't leading a man on, I don't know what it is.
Please, you've been so good to me already. I can't let you do anything more.
I've been good, huh? You mean that?
So good.
Then you be good to me, and don't refuse me. Deanne, if you leave me and I lose you, I lose everything. Even being a street washer will mean nothing. Funny, that was my idea of heaven once. But now I know that heaven is coming home to you. Oh, Deanne, please put on the dress. I want to marry you fast before anyone can take you away from me. I love you so much. So very much. You and I add up to heaven, the way I see it. Chico, Deanne, heaven.
Say it again.
Chico, Deanne, heaven.
Say it again.
Chico. Hey, that's enough. And look here, young woman, you're not marrying a poor man. I want you to know that. Look here. 1 month's pay in advance. We'll have a picnic tonight and a wedding that no one on the street will ever forget. I've invited all the street washers and the whole sewer. How about it, Madame Chico?
Madame Chico. Oh, it's a lovely name. It's a lovely name.
Will you go and put on that dress? Get along there. Go over to Madame Gobert's and put it on.
Immediately, Monsieur Chico, immediately.
Are you the man they call Chico?
Yes, come in. This is my friend, Boo.
How do you do?
Very pleased, I'm sure.
I'm Deanne's Aunt Valentine. The police called me when Nana was arrested. She told me I'd find Deanne here, so I've come to get her.
To get her? But that's impossible. We're going to be married this morning.
Oh, no. Oh, perhaps you don't understand. She comes of a good family. Nana ran away with her several years ago, and we've been hunting for both girls ever since. The first clue we had was when this arrest came up. Oh, dear Anne, can't marry a street cleaner.
It's an honorable profession. I'm proud of it. And so is Deanne. She loves me.
If you love her, you'll send her with me. You've no right to keep her from a fine home where she'll have everything a girl could want. What can you offer her? This ugly hole?
You know, Chico, she has a point.
All right, take her.
He loves her very much,
But
you know.
you must know I'm right.
Well, logic is on your side, but love is on his. We'll see.
Chico! Aunt Valentine, what are you doing here?
Why, my dear, how pretty you look. And what a nice dress.
Where's Chico?
He's gone, my dear. You're going home with me.
Oh, no, I can't. I'm going to marry Chico. Chico!
I'm here, Deanne.
Chico, please come back,
Oh,
Chico.
my dear girl, use your head. I'm offering you your old life, clothes and money and a good home.
But Aunt Valentine, Chico has offered me heaven.
What is it? What do you want, Deanne?
Oh, don't ever go away from me again like that. Don't ever let anyone do that to us. You and I belong together. I love you, Chico. With you, I can be poor and still have the whole world. And without you, I can be very rich and still have nothing.
Well, then, I guess that settles that, huh?
Yes, I guess it does. Goodbye, then. And I hope you'll both be very happy.
Deanne.
Oh, Boo, I've been so worried. What's happened? Where's Chico? You've been gone for hours.
Deanne, we're at war. We're at war with Germany. The mailman was downstairs with orders for both of us when we got down.
Orders? War?
I got through before Chico, so he sent me back to tell you. He'll only have a few minutes, Deanne.
I can't believe it. Only a few hours ago, it was our world, Chico's and mine. And now it's been torn away from us. It isn't fair. It isn't fair.
No, Deanne, it isn't. Oh, that must be Chico. I'll go on over to Madame Charlot's across the roof. He'll want to see you alone.
Thank you for telling me.
Goodbye, Deanne.
Goodbye, Boole, and good luck.
Deanne?
I know, Chico. I know. Boole told me.
I don't want to leave you. But I haven't any choice. You know that, don't you?
I know that.
Perhaps it'd be best if you went to your aunt.
No. I want to stay here. I want to wait for you here. All the happiness I've ever known has been in this room. I want to stay here.
It's sort of hard to put into words, Deanne. But I want you to know that it's going to be a little easier because I have a reason for going. You. And all the dreams I've known because of you. Deanne, I'm not a very warlike man, and I'm not very keen on killing or being killed. But if that's what I have to do to keep you safe, that's what I'll do. I've learned a lot since I met you, Deanne.
So have I. You'll come back to me, Chico?
I'll come back to you, Deanne.
I wish there'd been time to be married. I wish I was really Madame Chico.
You are. In your heart and in mine. Look, here are the medals the priest gave me. We can marry ourselves with these. Give me your hand, Deanne. Now, say, I, Deanne, take thee, Chico.
I, Deanne, take thee, Chico, for my wedded husband, for now and forever, as long as we both shall live.
I, Chico, take thee, Deanne, for my wedded wife, for now and forever, as long as we both shall live. Well, Madame Chico, I guess that does it. And now, goodbye, my darling.
Oh, Chico!
Deanne, please don't cry. I don't want to remember you crying. You're so much prettier when you smile. Smile for me, Deanne. That's better.
I won't say goodbye. Just, I'll be waiting.
All right, darling.
Sometimes I guess you have to wait for heaven. You have to wait and pray and have faith. I know that such a very remarkable fellow will come back even more remarkable. And then we'll have our seventh heaven once again.
You have no doubt of that, do you?
Not a bit. Because heaven is a place that's ruled by God. And will be protected by him.
Then I'll be back.
Oh, Chico, soon? I pray it will be soon.
And so the Chicos and the Deannes wait for heaven now, with faith in their hearts, and fight for it with courage and determination. And every day brings it a little closer. Seventh heaven, as always, just around the corner. This is Frank Gallup, your host for the evening, ringing down the curtain on tonight's performance of Romance, a program produced each week by Columbia to bring you the great romantic plays and love stories of all time. Our story tonight was adapted for radio by Gene Holloway from the play Seventh Heaven by Austin Strong. Seventh Heaven was produced and directed by Marks Loeb, with music conducted by Ben Ludlow. The players included Joey Geffen as Deanne, Lamont Johnson as Chico, and Ralph Bell as Boole. Beginning next week, Romance will come to you at a new hour, 11:30 p.m. Eastern Wartime, when I'll be back with another great love story. And so, until next Tuesday at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Wartime, this is Frank Gallup saying good night and wishing you love, happiness, and romance.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System. Columbia brings you Romance. Tonight, A Lady in Love, the story of a small-town girl who is forced to choose between two kinds of love. And here is Frank Gallup to set the stage for tonight's tale of romance.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Romance. Once again, we're ready to guide you through the pages of a most unusual love story. Tonight we bring you Marion Shockley as Linda Brown, the lady who is loved by two men. Blaine Cordner as Clem Richards, one of the handsomest men in her life, and Bill Quinn as the happy-go-lucky Johnny Day. A Lady in Love was adapted by Gene Holloway